Chapter 989. Everyone wanted to enter the No Dominion first, but it depended on their own strength. They tore the space apart and found it difficult to enter based on the distance. They had to wait for the two worlds to get closer. Half a month had passed and the No Dominion had moved to the middle of the firmament world and the Tianxian world. Due to the pull of the two worlds, it would stabilize for more than a year before passing through the firmament world and the Tianxian world. At this time, everyone who wanted to enter the No We've had already entered. Elder Xiang didn't leave. He was worried that Yi Shang would be ambushed by the Tiannan Empire's troops when he returned. The saint ruler aside, Elder Xiang was worried about the Tiannan Empire's emperor's hidden hand. It was not that Elder Xiang was overthinking, but Yuan Xinba was already here. If he was here, Yuan Xinba would be obedient. If he was not here, then Yuan Xinba would not be able to do anything. Knight Sorrow and Zhu Jiuyun explored the area and collected materials for refining elixirs and weapons. No one fought with them, so they were very free. Knight Sorrow, Zhu Jiuyun, and her doppelganger searched a large area. They were practically dragging a net forward. According to Knight Sorrow's suggestion, they walked back and forth a few times. Those who came later would have to wait. Read, novel, Knight Sorrow, I didn't expect you to be so evil. Are you letting those who came later work for nothing? Zhu Jiuyun now felt the pain of being Knight Sorrow's opponent. How can you say that? Am I evil? We're all here for opportunities. They need opportunities, and so do I. Whoever gets the opportunity and resources is the one with the ability, Knight Sorrow said. Maybe you're right. After thinking for a while, Zhu Jiuyun felt that Knight Sorrow's reasoning made sense. Cultivators were fighting against the heavens. Who wouldn't fight for opportunities when there were opportunities? Let's not get too close to the center for now. Let's search in circles first and then slowly move toward the center. Knight Sorrow said his idea. The center of the No Dominion was the most dangerous area. There was still time. Before others arrived, it was best to get as much as possible. Zhu Jiuyun was a smart person. He immediately understood what Knight Sorrow meant. He followed Knight Sorrow and began to search the area. Time slowly passed. Yi Shang and Zhu Jiuyun collected a lot of materials. They could sense the alchemy materials, but the 9 regions' origins could sense the blacksmithing materials in a much larger area than Shao Kong's. With regards to their harvest, Knight Sorrow was very satisfied. Because it was very difficult to obtain king-grade materials in the profound sky world, the two of them had collected quite a lot. Jiuyun, why don't you take the materials and leave first? I'll search the central area, Knight Sorrow said. You're worried about the danger, so you want me to retreat first, Zhu Jiuyun said as he looked at Knight Sorrow. There's king in the middle area. It's very dangerous. Yi Shang directly told the truth. I have to say that you have always been considerate of the people around you. But since we came in together, we can either go out together or go in together, Zhu Jiuyun said. Actually, it's a very wise choice for us to retreat now. But I can't. Knight Sorrow shook his head. Why not? It's fine as long as there's an opportunity. There's no need to be so obsessed. Zhu Jiuyun was a bit puzzled. Knight Sorrow wasn't a greedy person. I want the 10,000 lifespan limitless fruit. My father's cultivation talent is low, and he even lost an arm because of me. The 10,000 lifespan limitless fruit can change that. I don't want to see my father slowly grow old. I can't bear it, said Yi Shang. What's your relationship with Father Gu? Is it worth it for you to risk your life for him? Zhu Jiuyun asked. She knew a bit about Knight Sorrow, but she wasn't very clear about the relationship between Knight Sorrow and Father Gu. She had been in seclusion all these years. Foster father is the one who brought me up. It wasn't easy for him. So if I have the chance, I have to work hard for him. There's no need for you to risk your life with me. I'll send you back. Knight Sorrow told Zhu Jiuyun about his past with Father Gu before making his decision. I'll accompany you this once. I admire your attitude. If you want to risk your life, then so be it. Zhu Jiuyun smiled. Although she was smiling, she was touched. She had only seen Night Sorrow's bright and hard-working side. She had never seen Night Sorrow's difficult and bitter side. All right. As long as I'm alive, I won't leave you behind in the limitless longevity region. Let's go. Night Sorrow tossed Zhu Jiuyun a jug of wine. When they encountered trouble and didn't want to fight, Night Sorrow's soul power would wrap around Zhu Jiuyun and run. When they encountered a single monster beast, Night Sorrow would kill it. I really regret it. I regret my wrong decision. Those underworld kings of the netherworld fell one by one. If only they could fight with me now. Zhu Jiuyun sighed. If they didn't fall, you wouldn't have made such a choice. Perhaps this is fate. Night Sorrow said. In fact, if the underworld kings of the 9 regions world weren't killed, Zhu Jiuyun wouldn't have chosen to compromise. You're right. Perhaps this is fate. If I could enter the Saint King realm earlier, I wouldn't have ended up like this. Zhu Jiuyun really believed in fate. She had entered the Saint King realm a few years later, but the results were completely different. Fortunately, the current situation in the netherworld was good. This was what she was most gratified about. Night Sorrow studied the map as he advanced. He was very grateful to Old Xiang. The maps he bought in Big Dipper City and other places were all written records. The maps of the limitless longevity region were very precious. Although the map didn't have the exact location of the 3 kings, Night Sorrow could roughly circle the location by comparing them with the notes. Night Sorrow's target was the King Kong's territory that occupied the 10,000 limitless longevity fruits. Other than the 2 of us, no one else would provoke a king, Zhu Jiuyun said. Haha. That's not necessarily true. There are many crazy people. If they gamble with their lives, they'll make a fortune. Night Sorrow said with a smile. You're the crazy kind of person. However, I know you've made a lot of preparations. You even used poison. You don't do things that you're not confident in. So, I'm very confident. Zhu Jiuyun said. I'm confident in other things, but this time, I'm really not. You know what a king is. The notes recorded 90,000 years ago. It was a king 90,000 years ago. It's hard to say how strong he is now. Night Sorrow glanced at Zhu Jiuyun and said. Don't scare me. I haven't lived long enough. Zhu Jiuyun was stunned when she heard Night Sorrow's words. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just stating a fact. Besides, you sound as if I've lived long enough. If I knew you were so talkative, I wouldn't have brought you along. Night Sorrow glanced at Zhu Jiuyun and continued moving forward. You're too heartless. I didn't risk my life in the Tiannan dynasty's massacre because I was in the Heavenly Cauldron sect. The Medicine Valley was weak, and I didn't give you any face. Are you going to scold me just because you want to? Zhu Jiuyun chased after Yi Shang with some dissatisfaction. It was a kind of light relaxation to complete the promise after the battle. Thank you for everyone's support. Thank you for the doctor's strength pills, the legendary essential oil, and the unsealing of UK-45. Baidu, Myriad Daos into Expression book, to read for free. Chapter 990. Night Sorrow knew that Zhu Jiuyun was indeed a good person. Ever since she had submitted to him, she no longer had any other thoughts. She was really working hard on the 9-domain world. When Zhu Jiuyun caught up, Night Sorrow stopped. Jiuyun, this won't do. My doppelganger isn't afraid of dying. Your doppelganger isn't afraid either. But it's not suitable for your original body to follow. Then what should we do? Zhu Jiuyun knew that Night Sorrow was worried about her. The death of the doppelganger wasn't scary. What was scary was the death of the original body. How about this? Your doppelganger will follow me, and your original body will follow behind us. This way, it'll be much safer. Night Sorrow said. All right, I'll follow your arrangement. I think it'll be much safer this way. Zhu Jiuyun said. Then, Night Sorrow and Zhu Jiuyun continued to move forward. However, Zhu Jillian's doppelganger and her original body followed behind, maintaining a safe distance for them to retreat. The materials continued to flow into Night Sorrow's pockets. Zhu Jillian was also very excited because it felt good to have a harvest. At night, the two of them would set up camp and rest. Night Sorrow didn't like to kill casually, but Zhu Jillian didn't mind. She would roast some meat or something. Night Sorrow held the map and tried to figure out the general direction of the 10,000 limitless fruit. Before entering, there were still some mistakes. Maybe we'll be lucky and find the 10,000 limitless fruit without encountering any king-level demonic beasts. Then, we'll be done. Zhu Jillian said. You're thinking too much. That's impossible. Other materials might be produced in many places, but rare treasures like the 10,000 limitless fruit won't. Night Sorrow said. Zhu Jillian thought for a while and nodded. She was just saying it casually. The possibility was indeed very low. Some rare treasures would be guarded by demonic beasts from the moment they were born. These demonic beasts were also called guardians. How's your main body's cultivation going? When can you enter the king's realm? Once you enter the king's realm, we from the 9-domain world will have a backer and a stable footing. Zhu Jillian looked at Night Sorrow, who was studying the map, and asked. That's the king realm, not the spirit-severing realm or the void inquiry stage. Don't you know that there aren't many king realm experts in the heaven profound world? Night Sorrow glared at Zhu Jillian. Who are you? You are the realm lord of the 9 regions world, the profound mysteries realm, and the nether realm. You are the most outstanding talent in the 3 realms. Of course you can. Zhu Jillian flattered Night Sorrow. Alright, you win. I've found an opportunity to comprehend the will of space. I'll need some time. Night Sorrow looked at Zhu Jillian. He didn't want to disappoint Zhu Jillian, so he nodded and explained his situation. Looking at Night Sorrow, Zhu Jillian was stunned. I'm just encouraging you. You really have to find the opportunity to break through. Night Sorrow looked at Zhu Jillian and didn't say anything. It was because Zhu Jillian's words were very infuriating. Night Sorrow, everyone has high hopes for you. You are the pride of our group. If you become a king realm expert, you will be the realm lord of a world. It can be said that you can steadily support an organization. You are still young. It's possible for you to become a monarch realm expert. Zhu Jillian looked at Night Sorrow and said sincerely. A monarch realm expert? What is a monarch realm expert? Night Sorrow asked curiously. Don't you know what a monarch realm expert is? Zhu Jillian looked at Night Sorrow in surprise. She felt that Night Sorrow should know about it. After that, Zhu Jillian explained it to Night Sorrow. Every world had its own rules and regulations that everyone had to abide by. This formed order, and the monarch was the one who made and managed this order. Monarchs were usually at the peak of the king realm. They were true powerhouses. For example, anyone who attacked a realm transfer array would die. This was because this was the rule set by the monarch. If a battle was fought to the death, the monarch wouldn't care. However, attacking a realm transfer array was a challenge to his dignity and prestige. There was no doubt that he would be killed. How do you know so much? There are monarchs in the profound sky world? Night Sorrow asked. When you were refining pills and refining weapons, I went to various cities. That's why I know a little. There is only one monarch in the profound sky world, and that is the profound sky monarch. He is the founding emperor of the profound sky dynasty, Zhu Jillian said. That is after countless years of accumulation. You have to know how long the profound sky dynasty has been around. Millions of years? Tens of millions of years? It can be said that without the accumulation of time, it is impossible to reach this height. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew a little about the profound sky dynasty. It was the number 1 power in the profound sky world, and it was much stronger than the Tiannan dynasty. Zhu Jillian didn't say anything else. This was the truth. Without the accumulation of time, it was impossible to reach this height. Furthermore, if the other king realms showed signs of reaching this realm, the monarchs might take action. After all, a mountain couldn't have two tigers. Of course, the monarchs couldn't completely control it. Those who could cultivate to the king realm weren't fools. If there was a possibility of reaching the peak of the king realm, they would find a place to cultivate. They wouldn't come out until they reached the peak of the king realm. If they came out, they would be monarchs. Original chapters and chapters and chapters. After resting for a night, Night Sorrow continued forward with Zhu Jiuyun. Since they had entered the No-Weave region, which was a treasure trove of resources, Night Sorrow naturally had to do some accumulation. At this time, some of the people who had entered the No-Weave region were very angry, including the Tiannan dynasty's Shang Jingchun. This time, the Tiannan dynasty had sent a team of 7 Saint Kings, 3 of whom were peak Saint Kings. Shang Jingchun was angry because he found many traces of resources being taken. Only Night Sorrow and Zhu Jiuyun, who had entered first, could do this. Third Prince, don't be upset. We'll just kill that guy, a man said. He was Yuan Han from the Yuan clan of the Tiannan dynasty, the eldest son of Yuan Qinba. He was a peak Saint King with strong combat ability. He was also arranged by Shang Tianfeng, who didn't want Shang Jingchun to be in danger when he entered the No-Weave region. Yes, kill him, and then the materials he took will be ours. Prince, we can send people to wait for him, another man said. Alright, Saint King Lin, you're a saint-level array master. Go back to the space barrier region and set up a big formation. When others enter and leave, don't activate the formation. When you see Night Sorrow, that bastard, come out, activate the formation. Even if you can't kill him, you have to trap him and not let him out, Shang Jingchun said. I understand. I'll go now, Saint King Lin said. He was a member of the Lin clan of the Tiannan dynasty. It wasn't just Shang Jingchun's group that was annoyed. The people who entered after them were also annoyed. Before they entered, Yi Shan and Zhu Jiuyun had pulled the net back and forth several times, leaving them in a mess. Chapter 991. Cultivators had a long lifespan and most of their time was spent on cultivation. Cultivation required resources. Without resources, one's cultivation would increase slowly and it would be difficult for one to reach a higher level. Night Sorrow's goal was to improve himself and resources were an indispensable part of this. For example, in the king's realm, if one comprehended from 10% to 20% willpower, one's realm would increase. This was the 2-star king's realm. To catch up and improve one's cultivation required a large amount of resources. Night Sorrow knew how difficult it was to reach the Saint King's realm. It was 10 times harder than reaching the Saint King's realm and even 100 times harder than reaching the Supreme Realm. One could imagine that in the King's realm, even if one comprehended willpower and reached a certain realm, it would be extremely difficult for one's cultivation to catch up. Resources were the key. Night Sorrow's soul power was much stronger than Zhu Jiuyun's and the 9 regions' origin could explore a wider area. Therefore, he could collect more resources. It could be said that wherever Night Sorrow went, the 9 regions' origin would be swept clean. Not even low-level materials were left behind. Many people had the same idea as Night Sorrow. They would not go directly to the central region. Many people did not even want to go to the central region. The reason was simple. They were afraid of death and they came here to collect resources. Those who were lucky enough to reach the side that Night Sorrow and Zhu Jiuyun did not go to might have some gains. However, those who followed Night Sorrow and Zhu Jiuyun had nothing to gain. 3 months later, Night Sorrow met other cultivators. He knew that they were cultivators from the firmament world. After all, there was more than one place to enter. At least half of the cultivators from the firmament world who could enter the No Dominion came from the firmament world. When he met Night Sorrow, he did not hide. He was not afraid of fighting, but he would not take the initiative to kill. After becoming the realm lord of the 9 regions world, Night Sorrow had some understanding of karma. Every living being had a reason to exist. Casually taking away a living being's right to live was against the laws of heaven. However, not everyone had such a realization. Night Sorrow didn't want to fight, but others did. Seeing Night Sorrow and Zhu Jiuyun, only Night Sorrow was a peak stage Saint King, some people chose to attack. High-level cultivators were also equivalent to resources. Killing people to seize resources was also a way to accumulate resources. Against enemies and opponents, Night Sorrow would never show mercy. He did not fear anyone other than the king. 2 peak stage Saint Kings were killed by Night Sorrow in a short while. Their name is Thousand Mile Escort. How interesting. Zhu Jiuyun did not make a move because the two of them did not think highly of her. They wanted to kill Night Sorrow first. I had no choice. I didn't want to take the initiative to kill, but they didn't hold back, Night Sorrow said helplessly after taking the storage rings and weapons of the 2 peak stage Saint Kings. They're blind. What can I do? Zhu Jiuyun said with a smile. She could only say that the two of them had a hard life. The main reason was that Night Sorrow himself was a big trap. He was too deceptive. After reaching the level of Saint King, everyone's age was no longer a secret. Just a casual glance would be enough to figure out a rough estimate. Night Sorrow's age was too young in the level of Saint King, and many times, age represented battle prowess. Battle prowess depended on experience and battle techniques. Cultivators who had lived for a long time had plenty of experience, and their battle techniques were almost fixed. Young age meant that they had less experience and fewer battles. Of course, this was not absolute. Night Sorrow was a typical example. He was the only genuine one, and the others were stolen copies. Night Sorrow did not say anything. He was a little emotional. This was the world where the strong preyed on the weak. It could be said that the strong were respected. This was the law of the heavens. Night Sorrow then collected the 2 Saint Crystals and continued forward. However, he discovered that the high-level cultivators really did not have any high-level attribute crystals. They were all ordinary attribute Saint Crystals. It was just as Wu Lingfei had said, it was too difficult for high-level attribute cultivators to cultivate. Jiuyun, how many years have you been cultivating? How did you comprehend the high-level attribute laws? Night Sorrow asked as they continued forward. More than 2,000 years. I became a saint very early on, but I was unable to take the step to become a Saint King. As for the comprehension of the laws, I comprehended it in the netherworld abyss. You also know that the source of the netherworld realm is there, Zhu Jiuyun said. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that the netherworld abyss was indeed the place where the laws of death were the strongest. As the two chatted, Night Sorrow was also constantly collecting herbs. He had a storage ring in his storage ring, so he could store as many resources as he wanted and take them away. Zhu Jiuyun really admired Night Sorrow because Night Sorrow's ability to collect resources was extremely strong. He could even find resources far away from Night Sorrow. Time passed. The no-weave was very large, and the chances of encountering cultivators were not high. However, Night Sorrow still killed a few groups of people who wanted to attack him. This was equivalent to several groups of people helping him collect resources. Every Saint King he killed was a peak Saint King. They had come to the no-weave with a great harvest. Your combat ability is strong, so you have a much greater advantage over others in collecting resources. It's like they're all helping you, Zhu Jiuyun said. As you can see, I'm not the one who wants to kill and rob. They're the ones who want to kill us. Do you think it makes no sense for me to hide and run when they want to kill me? Night Sorrow looked at Zhu Jiuyun. That's not what I meant. I just feel that it's a little strange. Not many people can tell who's the prey and who's the hunter. You're too deceptive. Everyone who sees you wants to attack you. Of course, I'm just a decoration. They almost don't attack me, Zhu Jiuyun said. Huh, they can't bear to attack you. Didn't that group of people just now say that they want to kill me and then take you back to be some Saint King's concubine? Night Sorrow said with a laugh. Don't mention it. They're too disgusting. Zhu Jiuyun looked at Night Sorrow with some annoyance. The peak Saint King who was killed by Night Sorrow had indeed said that. Night Sorrow smiled and did not say anything. He knew that although Zhu Jiuyun had not reached the level of a peak Saint King, the pride in his heart was not something an ordinary Saint King could compare to. Even a peak Saint King could not compare to Zhu Jiuyun. Zhu Jiuyun was once the leader of the Nether Realm and had always been giving orders. He had a certain king's aura. As for the Saint Kings who came from the large world, they all grew up in fear. They lacked a kind of aura that made them feel like they could do anything. They really can't do it. They like to hunt down the weak and they like to kill together. This is a manifestation of their lack of confidence. It's very difficult to comprehend the will of the heavens. If they can succeed, they'll be like that, Night Sorrow said. He also looked down on this group of peak Saint Kings who did not even dare to fight alone. This has something to do with comprehending the will of the heavens, Zhu Jiuyun said. Of course it has something to do with it. The will of the heavens is strong and domineering. If a cultivator doesn't even have confidence, it's unrealistic to talk about comprehending the will of the heavens. Perhaps those who can see this are King Realm cultivators. After all, there's a difference in levels, Night Sorrow said. Those who can see it are King Realm cultivators. What about you? You're a King Realm cultivator. Zhu Jiuyun looked at Night Sorrow with disdain. Speak. Chapter 992. I'm not, but I'm almost there. The only thing I lack is time, Night Sorrow said as he looked at Zhu Jiuyun. Hey, why don't I understand what you mean? Zhu Jiuyun's body flashed to block Night Sorrow's path. I already have a clue, but I'm still trying to figure it out, Night Sorrow said as he dodged Zhu Jiuyun, who had almost crashed into him. Very good. You're ruthless. You're really heaven-defying. You've only cultivated for less than 100 years in the real world. You're a genius if you can become a sage within 100 years. Even becoming a sage is an unimaginable achievement. I can't describe your current situation, Zhu Jiuyun said emotionally. It was not that she wanted to be emotional, but Night Sorrow's efficiency was too shocking. The harder you work, the luckier you get. I believe that as long as you're willing to work hard, you can cultivate and achieve something, Night Sorrow said as he continued moving forward. Zhu Jiuyun wanted to say that it was easy for Yi Shang to say that. Cultivators who did not work hard were rare. Most people worked very hard, but it was too difficult for them to achieve anything. There were all kinds of factors that prevented them from moving forward. Additionally, Zhu Jiuyun admired Night Sorrow's mentality. Night Sorrow was able to remain calm. No matter what materials he collected, he did not feel happy or sad. After half a year, Night Sorrow and Zhu Jiuyun returned to the starting point of the no-weave zone. Jiuyun, why don't you return to the 9 regions world first? We're going to the central area of the no-weave zone, Night Sorrow said as he looked at Zhu Jiuyun. I won't go out first. My main body will find a place to cultivate. My clone will go with you, Zhu Jiuyun said. Night Sorrow thought about it and agreed, that's a good idea. However, you have to hide your main body well. Don't let anyone find you. Zhu Jiuyun then smiled and told Night Sorrow not to worry. Her main body had a spatial divine item. If she hid it, no one would find it easily. Only then did Night Sorrow relax. He then led Zhu Jiuyun's doppelganger towards the center of No Weave. Night Sorrow's target was King Kong King's territory. The closer they got to the center of the No territory, the more battles they encountered. All kinds of demonic beasts emerged one after another, and they were all high-level demonic beasts. I just don't understand. How can there be so many high-level demonic beasts in the No-Weave region? And none of them can transform. Night Sorrow was a little puzzled. The reason why we can produce high-level monsters is very simple. The conditions here are good. Furthermore, the level of civilization here is low. Therefore, there are no cultivation techniques or seniors to guide us. We might as well cultivate in our beast form, Zhu Jiuyun said. Night Sorrow felt the same way. If this place had a high level of civilization, then there wouldn't be such an abundance of elixir materials and refining materials. The No territory had a radius of 10 million miles. It was only 5 million miles to the center. Knight Sorrow and Zhu Jiuyun, who were high-level and peak holy kings, didn't need much time. However, the two of them couldn't advance directly. After all, they had to collect materials along the way. The closer they were to the center, the higher the grade of the materials. There were battles all the time. The demonic beasts might coexist peacefully, but if cultivators entered, they would feel that they were intruders. Therefore, they would fight to the death. Knight Sorrow didn't want to take the initiative to kill, but he couldn't kill all of them. Zhu Jiuyun would attack whenever there were demonic beasts fighting. It was also a form of training for her. As they got closer to the designated area, Knight Sorrow also felt the oppressive aura. The demonic beasts here were very well behaved. Even when they attacked Knight Sorrow and Zhu Jiuyun, they fought silently. After advancing for a while, there were no more demonic beasts. Demonic beasts that could cultivate were intelligent. Some places weren't suitable for them to stay, so they naturally had to leave. First. This made Knight Sorrow know that they were getting closer to their destination. Knight Sorrow and Zhu Jiuyun advanced carefully. They also noticed the traces of battle. Knight Sorrow, are there other people in the center? Zhu Jiuyun asked. It seems like there are really people here. Those who dare to come here aren't simple. They wouldn't dare to come if they weren't confident, Knight Sorrow said. Zhu Jiuyun nodded. She understood that no one was a fool. Those who dared to come here had some confidence. Knight Sorrow's confidence came from his own strength, strong defense, and fast speed. As for his attack, no matter how strong it was not worth mentioning in front of a King Realm expert. We have to be careful. Don't get killed before we see the limitless longevity fruit, Zhu Jiuyun said. Don't jinx it. Can't you think of something better? Knight Sorrow glared at Zhu Jiuyun. As they advanced, Knight Sorrow saw cultivators. However, they were all in large groups. Knight Sorrow had never seen some of them before. He knew that they had entered from the Sky Dome realm because he had an impression of almost everyone who had entered from the Sky Dome realm. This situation made Knight Sorrow very shocked. He knew that it would be more difficult to obtain the limitless longevity fruit. Not only was it because of the internal factors of the limitless domain, but the competition between cultivators from the outside was also very intense. A Saint King's lifespan was 10,000 years. Some peak saints had cultivated for thousands of years. There were many who were close to 10,000 years. If they couldn't enter the King Realm, they would die. Therefore, it was normal for them to risk their lives. Of course, some special life forms could break through this limit. Why didn't they attack us? Zhu Jiuyun asked. Because they don't want to cause trouble. This place is very close to the core region. If some uncontrollable battle happens, it won't be good for anyone. It might happen in a situation where no one is prepared and it would incur the wrath of the king. Then, no one would have a good ending, Knight Sorrow said. After hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Zhu Jiuyun nodded. He understood the logic behind it. Every peak Saint King had something that they were good at. Once a battle started, if they couldn't complete a quick kill, escaping or even self-destructing would cause some negative consequences. This was something that no one wanted to see. Basically, everyone who came here was here for the limitless longevity fruit. Jiuyun, the Sky Dome Realm's level is higher than the Sky Dome Realm. Look at their group. They are all groups of peak Saint Kings, Knight Sorrow said. That's right. When I went out for a walk, I heard the discussions of the cultivators in the tavern. The Sky Dome Realm is indeed strong. They have conquered many subsidiary realms and even have 2 sovereigns. This shows how strong the Sky Dome Realm is, Zhu Jiuyun said. After we get the limitless longevity fruit, we should also go to the Sky Dome Realm when we have time and broaden our horizons, Knight Sorrow said. There are 2 sovereigns in the Sky Dome Realm. They are the Blue Cloud Sovereign and the No Beginning Sovereign. The Blue Cloud Sovereign founded the Blue Cloud sect and has a dominant position in the Sky Dome Realm. The publicly recognized strongest sovereign is the No Beginning Sovereign. He has taken in 11 disciples. 3 of them are very strong cultivators in the king realm. He walks the path of elites, Zhu Jiuyun said to Night Sorrow. They are all experts. It's just that their choices are different, Night Sorrow nodded. However, he liked the no-beginning sovereign style. There are many dangers in the outside world. It's also very exciting. Zhu Jiuyun still had some restlessness in his bones. Speak. The third update arrived. Originally, there was an announcement. However, from today onwards, there will be no updates. There are too many things to do and the pressure is great. There are also too many things to do. I also need to make some adjustments to my life. However, the Great Demon King and K4, as well as the Legend of Bai, have rewards. Today, I will add a little more to the basic reward. However, it won't be too much. Chapter 993. We still don't have the strength to challenge the outside world. Perhaps to others, a high-level Saint King or a peak Saint King is enough. However, they have a backer, a sect, and a high status. Some problems can be solved by their seniors. We can only rely on ourselves for now. Night Sorrow said. I understand what you mean. If you work hard, you will be our backer in the future. Zhu Jiuyun said. I want to, but the main thing is whether I can. In this world, as long as you don't offend the most, anyone can deal with you if they see you as an eyesore. They don't need a reason. It's enough as long as they are stronger than you. Zhu Jiuyun nodded. She knew that whether it was her or Night Sorrow, they both needed time. If they had enough time and were not targeted by others, they would have the possibility of rising up. Although Zhu Jiuyun felt that she could not compare to Night Sorrow, she did not think that she was worse than others. What a cultivator could not lack the most was confidence. Just like what Night Sorrow said, those peak saints did not even have the courage to fight one-on-one. They lived under the nose of others. Naturally, they lacked confidence and lived in fear. Night Sorrow led the way. If there were resources, he would collect them. He wanted to accumulate more resources for himself so that he could cultivate in peace in the future. It could even be said that he could only come out when he had some achievements. That way, he could avoid a lot of danger. There were almost no demonic beasts blocking the way. Night Sorrow and Zhu Jiuyun only needed to be careful not to be ambushed by other cultivators. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. After walking for a while, Night Sorrow looked at the map and changed direction. It was true that they were heading towards the central region of the No Weave. However, that was the most dangerous region, the Silver Scorpion King's territory. The Silver Scorpion King was very strong in all aspects. Furthermore, it was proficient in poison. Rashly entering it would be a dead end. Zhu Jiuyun's clone followed Night Sorrow quietly and did not disturb Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow was still collecting materials as they advanced. Zhu Jiuyun followed beside Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, we are going in a different direction from the others. Night Sorrow nodded with a smile. They are advancing towards the central region, and the central region is Silver Scorpion King's territory. If they charge in, there is only one outcome, and that is death. It's a good thing that they are unlucky. As long as they don't ruin our plans, Zhu Jiuyun said. I have the map, so I'm part of the group that knows better. If I don't understand the situation, then I'm just trying my luck, Night Sorrow said. After advancing for half a day, just as Night Sorrow was collecting materials, a man in green clothes appeared. The man in green clothes had a very sharp aura and stood not far from Night Sorrow and Zhu Jiuyun. After collecting the materials, Night Sorrow looked at the man. Night Sorrow discovered that this man was not a peak Saint King. He was between a peak Saint King and a king. He was a half-step king. His aura and aura were the manifestation of wind attribute will. Night Sorrow stood in front of Zhu Jiuyun and looked at this man quietly. A half-step king was very strong. He could even look down on all Saint King realm cultivators. However, Night Sorrow was not afraid. When Gong Yang Lai was a 2-star king, he also dared to fight him. "Leave this woman and her storage ring behind and you can scram," the man in green clothes looked at Night Sorrow and said coldly. I respect my opponents. In fact, I respect my life and death enemies. If they have quality and courage, I will respect them. But as soon as you open your mouth, it proves that you are trash," Night Sorrow sneered, and the Space Splitter Spear appeared in his right hand. At this time, the Space Splitter Spear was no longer a high-rank spirit artifact, but a high-rank saint artifact. Night Sorrow had refined it after becoming a saint artifact refiner. "Those who dared to call me, Zhang trash are all dead. You are no exception." The young man, Zhang took out a long sword. The long sword was surrounded by an azure light and sword chi shot out, leaving a deep ravine in the ground. Night Sorrow glanced at the long sword in Zhang hand. With a wave of his left arm, he put Zhu Jiuyun into the spacetime pagoda. He knew that this battle would not be easy, so he did not want Zhang to have any crooked thoughts and hurt Zhu Jiuyun. "You will die today. No one dares to clamor with my gray cloud sect and me, Zhang Zhang body flashed and rushed forward. With a wave of the long sword in his hand, he slashed at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow spread out the law of nothingness. He poured his nothingness true chi into the Space Splitter Spear and thrust it at Zhang long sword. He was not careless at all, because he realized that the energy and will on Zhang long sword was very special. It was not the will of wind or sword intent of the will of heaven and earth, but it did contain two kinds. As the two weapons clashed, Night Sorrow retreated 6 feet, but Zhang retreated even further. Zhang eyes were filled with shock. He had already grasped a little bit of the will of heaven and earth. Although he had not completely grasped it and had not grasped 10% of it, he had still grasped it. However, under such circumstances, he was actually at a disadvantage in a head-on clash. Night Sorrow had expected such an outcome. The supreme attribute law was not something that could be suppressed by a little bit of the will of heaven and earth. Back then, even the 2-star king's 20% sword intent had not been able to suppress him, let alone this Zhang who was inferior to Gong Yang Lai. Then, the two of them started fighting. Zhang speed was very fast. Because he was of the wind attribute, the will of heaven and earth he had comprehended contained the sword intent of the wind attribute. Night Sorrow was at a disadvantage at first. Then, he activated the energy of his innate bloodline to protect himself. He was evenly matched with Zhang. It should be said that he had a slight advantage because Night Sorrow's attack power was high and his physical quality was strong. The two of them flashed and started fighting within a radius of 100 miles. Whenever either of them flashed, they would cover a distance of several miles. As a result, the battlefield was a mess. Night Sorrow and Zhang were both very surprised. After witnessing Zhang speed, Night Sorrow knew that the elemental power enhanced by the will of heaven and earth was indeed powerful. Zhang speed was because his wind attribute energy was enhanced by the will of heaven and earth. Zhang was also shocked by Night Sorrow's speed. Night Sorrow's speed was not enhanced by the will of heaven and earth, but he was still slightly faster than Zhang. In addition, Night Sorrow's strength and attack power were also very terrifying. Every time their weapons clashed, his hands would become numb from the impact. It should be known that his attacks were also supported by sword intent. After fighting for half an hour, Night Sorrow growled and his attacks became more violent. At this time, Zhang had already consumed a lot of energy, but he himself was still fine. Speak. 4th update, guaranteed update complete. A little later, I will update the legend of the Great Demon King, K4, and bye. Originally, I said that I would not update from today onwards, and the announcement was already made. However, the brothers rewarded me and I did not update. I felt that something was missing. Chapter 994. Zhang felt that he had used up more than 30% of his cultivation while Night Sorrow was still at his peak. Therefore, he decided not to fight. Remember, my name is Zhang. don't let me see you again. Sangwoo quickly attacked with 2 swords and left in a flash. Night Sorrow did not chase after him. In fact, he could have done so. He now had a little understanding of the will of space. However, if he used the will of heaven and earth to fight now, it would affect his main body's understanding of the will of heaven and earth. Sangwoo was just a piece of trash. A piece of trash with no quality was not worth his time. Night Sorrow did not want to delay his main body's understanding of the will of heaven and earth just to kill trash. He felt that it was a loss. Then, Night Sorrow let Zhu Jiuyun out. Part 1. Night Sorrow did not deactivate the Spacetime Pagoda's seal. Therefore, Zhu Jiuyun watched the entire battle between Night Sorrow and Sangwoo. Looking at Night Sorrow, Zhu Jiuyun said, I feel that you did not use your full strength. Yes, it's because he's not worth it. He's not worth it for me to fight with my full strength. That's not worth it. Yi Shan didn't hide the reason why he hadn't fought Sangwoo to the death. Indeed, the loss outweighs the gain. However, Sangwoo has a great background. He is from the Grey Cloud sect. His surname is Tsang. It is very likely that he is the descendant of the Grey Cloud monarch. Zhu Jiuyun analyzed and said. So what? I don't want to bother with him for now. If we meet again in the future, it will not be like today. Night Sorrow said. Zhu Jiuyun nodded. She knew that only Night Sorrow dared to say such things. The reason he could say such things was because he was the lord of the world. Night Sorrow was immortal. The deterrence of a monarch was indeed greatly reduced. Yes. That's right. Others might be afraid of him, but you really don't have to be. Try your best to protect your doppelganger. Even if it falls, you can just nourish it. You have the Spacetime Pagoda to speed things up. You have only been in the Spacetime Pagoda Tripod City for 100 years. Zhu Jiuyun said. You can't think of it that way. I do care about clones. My clones have 90% of my main body's combat power, but they require half of my main body's soul power. If I were to create more clones, it would be extremely harmful to my main body. I don't want to do something like that. Night Sorrow said. He had condensed 2 soul avatars, which had caused great damage to his soul. If not for the help of the Pagoda of Time and Space, Night Sorrow's soul would not have been able to recover to its perfect state. I'm just making an analogy. No one is willing to lose their avatar. Zhu Jiuyun nodded and agreed with Night Sorrow's point. I'm very sorry for destroying your spiritual doppelganger last time. Yi Shang apologized to Zhu Jiuyun in embarrassment. It's nothing. Back then, we were on different sides. The cost of cultivating soul doppelganger is relatively small. Zhu Jiuyun shook her head. She knew that she could not blame Night Sorrow. Back then, they were opponents. Naturally, she would do whatever she could to severely injure him. Her soul doppelganger being killed could only be attributed to her bad luck. It's good that you don't mind. Night Sorrow smiled and continued moving forward. Night Sorrow, you really have to be careful. You have 2 spatial sacred treasures on you. If your clones are lost and stolen, you'll be in big trouble. Zhu Jiuyun thought of another situation. That won't happen. There are some things you don't know. I have the 9 regions origin bead. If something happens to my clones, the 9 regions origin bead will take my storage ring and sacred treasures away. No one will benefit from it. Night Sorrow said. He had already prepared for this. Otherwise, he would not have brought the 9 regions origin bead and the Pagoda of Time and Space. He was confident. After listening to Night Sorrow's explanation, Zhu Jiuyun immediately understood that Night Sorrow had already made plans in his heart. He had already made full preparations in case something bad happened. As the 2 of them moved forward, they encountered fewer and fewer cultivators. After all, they were in a relatively remote area of the core area of the No-Weave. Those who rushed over at this time probably had a map in their hands. Elder Xiang was a King Realm cultivator. If he could get a map, other King Realm cultivators would also be able to get a map for their juniors. In addition, the Monarch Realm powerhouses would also support their juniors to fight for such an opportunity. Take Tsang Weiyue of the Grey Cloud sect for example. It was not surprising that the Grey Cloud Monarch could get a map of the No Weave. He might even have more information than Night Sorrow. After all, the Grey Cloud Monarch was a powerhouse who had cultivated for countless years. Elder Xiang could not compare to him. Actually, it's a good thing that more people go to the area where the King Realm is. We can fish in troubled waters, Zhu Jiuyun said. You don't have to worry about that. There will definitely be a lot of people. Since we can get a map, I can analyze the approximate location. Some people can do the same. You have to know that some people have a higher starting point and strong backing. Not to mention their own strength, their support conditions are also much better than ours. Night Sorrow was stunned for a moment as he spoke. He then flew in another direction and smiled. He had seen a good treasure. There were many resources for cultivators to increase their chi cultivation. However, there were very few resources that could increase their soul power. Night Sorrow was happy because he had found some true daylily grass that could be used to refine soul power pills. The main ingredient was true daylily grass. There were even a few stalks that had reached the 10,000-year-old level. Night Sorrow carefully harvested a small piece of true daylily grass and put it into his storage ring. Good stuff. Zhu Jiuyun looked at Night Sorrow's serious expression and asked curiously. It's not just any good stuff. It's true daylily grass that can be used to refine soul power pills. The true daylily grass king can be used to refine spirit mending pills. As the name suggests, spirit mending pills can be used to make up for flaws in the soul. In other words, anyone who cultivates a soul avatar can make up for the flaws in their soul, Night Sorrow said. Ah, how miraculous. That's the most practical thing. Your wife hasn't cultivated a soul avatar yet. She can use it after cultivating it. Also, it's good that you have some as backup. Of course, I hope you never have to use them, Zhu Jiuyun said. Zhu Jiuyun said. She was truly happy for Yishang. If Yishang could get the limitless longevity fruit, it would be a fruitful trip. Actually, some resources don't necessarily need to be used by ourselves. They can be traded. For example, there are 10 longevity limitless pills in one furnace. If we lack other resources, we can take them to the auction house and exchange them for the resources we need. That way, we can support our rapid rise, Night Sorrow said. Life is more precious than anything else. You should keep the 10,000 longevity limitless pill for yourself. If the cultivation of the important people around you cannot increase, you can use it to increase their lifespan. Zhu Jiuyun said. She was speaking from the bottom of her heart. Due to her high aptitude for cultivation and her achievements in cultivation, her loved ones had all left her when they reached the end of their lifespans. As a result, she did not have any relatives left. I understand what you mean. However, I will definitely not be stingy if I can help you with anything that you need. Night Sorrow looked at Zhu Jiuyun and made a promise. Say. Chapter 995. I'm doing well now. I'm borrowing your spacetime pagoda to cultivate and I didn't give you any resources. This is the biggest help to me, Zhu Jiuyun said. She was watching Night Sorrow gain a lot. However, Zhu Jiuyun wasn't jealous because she knew that it had nothing to do with her. It was Night Sorrow's ability and opportunity. Regardless of whether she followed Night Sorrow or not, he would have gained so much. To put it bluntly, she was just here to watch the show and broaden her horizons. After checking that he didn't miss any true daylily grass, Night Sorrow continued to advance. However, he was very careful as he didn't dare to barge in recklessly. According to the map, he had already entered the area where the Vajra King was. Night Sorrow advanced for a few hundred miles. Looking at the sky, he brought Zhu Jiuyun into the spacetime pagoda to rest. There's a feeling of fear and trepidation, but it's very exciting. Oh right, Night Sorrow, you said that even if something happened to you, the 9 regions origin bead would leave with your sage treasure. It's safe for my original body to enter your space-time pagoda. Otherwise, my original body wouldn't be safe either. Zhu Jiuyan thought of a new problem. If something really happened to Night Sorrow, it would be very difficult for her original body to return to the spatial barrier and enter the heaven mystic world. She might even be intercepted. That's true. Then your original body will follow the route we took and enter the space-time pagoda to cultivate. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and nodded. He also understood that if his clone died, it would be very difficult for Zhu Jiuyan to return safely. Everyone who came in was a wolf. They wouldn't dare to take a step forward when they saw a woman. It would be easy for a war to break out in the spatial barrier. 2 days later, Zhu Jiuyan's original body caught up and entered the 10th level of the space-time pagoda to cultivate. Night Sorrow and her clone weren't in the accelerated zone because Night Sorrow's cultivation had reached a bottleneck. There was no need to accelerate. After making arrangements for Zhu Jiuyan's original body, Night Sorrow led Zhu Jiuyan's clone forward. When it was noon, Night Sorrow's expression changed because he heard an earth-shattering roar. The roar was accompanied by an intense pressure. It was the pressure of the will of heaven and earth that belonged to the king realm. Yi Shang brought Zhu Jiuyan and quickly rushed forward 200 li, sensing that they were still 200 li away from the beast roar. Yi Shang brought Zhu Jiuyan into the space-time treasure pagoda. He then controlled the space-time treasure pagoda to fly. He wanted to see what was going on ahead. At the same time, he wanted to pay attention to his safety. At this moment, Night Sorrow's soul power was very strong and contained the power of law. Thus, he was able to control the space-time pagoda's speed. In half a cup of tea's time, Night Sorrow arrived at the location where the beast roar had come from. P more, new PP is the fastest on. This was the Vajra King's lair, where the limitless longevity fruit tree was. The limitless longevity fruit tree was more than 3 meters in diameter. Its trunk was densely covered with veins and emitted a breathtaking energy halo. The limitless longevity fruit tree was very thick, but its leaves were not very dense. Night Sorrow saw more than 10 green fruits with red veins among the sparse leaves. They were the limitless longevity fruit. The limitless longevity fruit tree was Night Sorrow's target. However, this was not the most shocking thing. There was a battle going on. It was not exactly a battle. A few pinnacle saints were using a special array disc. It was a golden array disc that was dozens of meters in diameter. The array disc was suspended high in the air. Below the array disc was a 10-meter-tall azure ape with golden fur and glowing fur. Vajra King. Night Sorrow knew that the one trapped by the array disc was one of the 3 giants of the limitless region, the Vajra King. The ones controlling the array disc were 9 pinnacle saint kings. There were also 2 men watching from the side. While everyone's attention was on the Vajra King, Night Sorrow controlled the space-time pagoda to change its angle. It landed on the limitless longevity fruit tree. Since he could not force it, Night Sorrow had to find an opportunity. In addition, the limitless longevity fruit tree was not ripe yet. It could be picked, but its effect and medicinal efficacy would be reduced. In other words, 2 limitless longevity fruits could only display the effect of 1 ripe limitless longevity fruit. 6th Senior Brother, we can take the limitless longevity fruit and leave now. If this stalemate continues, our consumption will be great, a black-clothed man said. The black-clothed youth stood there, giving people the feeling that he was a black hole. The most peculiar thing was that he had 2 white eyebrows. Black Wind, remember, you must always weigh the pros and cons. What's the loss of some Saint Spirit stones? Can it be compared to a ripe limitless longevity fruit? The value between an unripe limitless longevity fruit and a ripe limitless longevity fruit is not something that Saint Spirit stones can compare to, the man called 6th Senior Brother said. This man wore a golden robe, and ripples spread out from his body in all directions. Black Wind understands. 6th Senior Brother is the most experienced, the black-clothed man, Black Wind, said. If the others want to come, then so be it. Let's see who is better. This time, we have borrowed Master's no beginning array disc. If we cannot get the limitless longevity fruit, then it is our fate. If others snatch it, then it means that we are inferior, the golden-clothed man said. Sixth senior brother is right. Whoever can snatch it is capable, Black Wind said with a smile. Night Sorrow, who was inside the space-time pagoda, looked at Zhu Jiuyun. It seems we have gone overboard this time. They said that the array disk is called No Beginning Array Disk. Could it be the disciple of No Beginning Sovereign? Zhu Jiuyun asked Night Sorrow. Yes. That is definitely a heaven-defying treasure. It can trap the king. The average king would not have such means, Night Sorrow said. Then what should we do? Should we leave empty-handed after entering a treasure mountain? Should we snatch it and run? Zhu Jiuyun said anxiously. No rush. They are waiting for the limitless longevity fruit to ripen. We will wait as well. Actually, their outlook on life is quite good. Let's see who is better. I like and admire such opponents. Night Sorrow approved of the black-clothed man and the golden-clothed man. That was the style of men. You can admire them if you like. The problem now is that we are no match for them. Getting the limitless longevity fruit is the most important thing. Zhu Jiuyun looked at Night Sorrow with disappointment. If she were in his shoes, she would have run after getting the limitless longevity fruit. She knew that Night Sorrow's speed was quite good. That's not necessarily true. Once my main body wakes up, I'll fight them. But the prerequisite is that I get the limitless longevity fruit first. Since I'm already here, the opportunity has nothing to do with others. If they have the ability, then kill me first. Night Sorrow spoke his thoughts. Those two are very strong. They must be half-step king. Zhu Jiuyun did not try to persuade Night Sorrow. She knew that respecting the strong and respecting oneself was Night Sorrow's philosophy. Persuading Night Sorrow to give up on that philosophy was unrealistic. That one called Black Wind comprehended the will of heaven and earth. It contains a bit of the spatial attribute, the will of heaven and earth. He is a half-step king. The strong one is the golden-clothed man. Night Sorrow had a rough understanding of the situation. Speak. Sixth Watch. Chapter 996. Night Sorrow felt that the golden-robed man's comprehension of the will of heaven and earth should be towards the fusion of the will of earth and lightning. The faint ripples contained two types of will, but they were both immature. Black Wind, why do I have a bad feeling about this? The golden-robed man said as he rubbed his forehead. What bad premonition? The Vajra sovereign king is being controlled by the servants we brought from the boundless mountain. As for the others, sixth senior brother alone is enough for us to kill. I reckon that when the people from the Sky Dome realm see the famous sky-raising sage king, Chen Bai, they will not have any intention of attacking. They will just turn around and leave, He Feng said with a smile. There's always someone better out there. We can never be complacent and arrogant. It's hard to say where this bad feeling is coming from. I don't believe that anyone can snatch the limitless longevity fruit away from the two of us, Chen Bai said. This guy seems to be very famous, Zhu Jiuyun said. The 9 peak sage kings are actually servants. This no-beginning sovereign is really powerful. Night Sorrow was also shocked. I know a little about this. The no-beginning sovereign's boundless mountain only has 11 true disciples. However, there are some servants. These servants are all willing. They were all rescued by the no-beginning sovereign or his disciples. It can be said that without the boundless mountain, they would not exist. Therefore, they are willing to be servants of the boundless mountain, Zhu Jiuyun said. I see. That's good. I don't want the famous no-beginning sovereign to force others to do things. That would overturn my view of him, Night Sorrow said. Also, these servants have a chance to turn things around. As long as they enter the king's realm, they will officially join the Boundless Mountain. Currently, among the 11 true disciples of Boundless Mountain, 3 of the kings are servants, Zhu Jiuyun explained to Night Sorrow. I see. Very good. Night Sorrow nodded. Although they were chatting, Night Sorrow had been paying attention to the outside. He found that everything was very stable outside. The 9 Pinnacle Saints were controlling the No Beginning formation disc and had firmly controlled the King Kong King. Night Sorrow also understood that the disc array's control power was astonishing, but it had no offensive power. In other words, it could only control and not kill. Night Sorrow and Zhu Jiuyan rested while observing the situation outside. However, no matter what the situation was, Night Sorrow had an absolute advantage when it came to snatching the limitless longevity fruit. It could be said that both Shao Kong and the 9 regions origin bead could snatch them in an instant. Time continued to pass, and Shen Bai and Hei Feng would frequently send Saint Spirit stones into the endless array disc. At the same time, there were also people who came endlessly. However, when they saw Chen Bai and Hei Feng, they retreated. Even the small team of peak stage Saint Kings did not stop. Because Chen Bai and Hei Feng could destroy their strength. When people came, Chen Bai did not say anything. However, Hei Feng would chase them away. Hei Feng did not directly kill them. It was fine if they left, but if they did not leave, he would fight. It was that simple. Hei Feng's method of chasing people away was very unique. When people came, he would reach out and point into the distance. Then, he would point at the long black blade on his shoulder. His meaning was clear. If they did not leave, he would use his blade. Chen Bai's gaze was fixed on the No Beginning formation disc. He did not pay attention to the people who came. Looks like these 2 fellows are also livestock in the Sky Dome realm. They are very intimidating, Zhu Jiuyan said. Strength. They are strong, Night Sorrow said. Then, Night Sorrow saw Tsang Weiyue arrive with a small team. So it's Brother Chen and Brother Hei Feng. Tsang Weiyue did not leave like the others. Instead, he spoke. Is there a problem? This is my and 6th senior brother's territory. Do you want to leave or fight? Hei Feng tightened his grip on his blade. He knew Tsang Weiyue. Hei Feng, you don't have to be so domineering. If it were you, I wouldn't care. However, I admire Brother Chen very much. I won't steal anything. Can I just watch? Tsang Weiyue said. If you dare to play tricks, there will be no place for you in the Sky Dome realm. I, Chen Bai, will say this. I believe the Grey Cloud Sovereign will not interfere with the matters of the younger generation. Of course, it doesn't matter if he interferes. Chen Bai turned his head and glanced at Tsang Weiyue. Killing intent appeared on his originally calm face. Tsang Weiyue narrowed his eyes and did not say anything. He knew what Chen Bai meant. If it was a competition of the younger generation, the Grey Cloud sect would not be able to defeat the Boundless Mountain. If a King Realm expert participated, then the Boundless Mountain would have a King Realm expert. Not to mention, in the highest level competition, the Boundless Mountain would be stronger. Huh, maybe your big brother Tsang Wushang can fight. You really can't. Hei Feng laughed. Tsang Weiyue looked at Hei Feng but did not say anything. Damn, he's like a grandson now. He's not a man at all. Why don't we just cut him off? Zhu Jiuyan cursed. She despised people like Tsang Weiyue the most. He's a half-step king. It's useless to cut him off. As long as he's alive, his body will be unharmed, Night Sorrow said with a smile. If he doesn't leave, it will be more difficult for you to get the fruit and run away, Zhu Jiuyan said. Well, maybe. Regardless, I'm definitely getting my fruit, Night Sorrow said. Time continued to slip away. More people came. They were either chased away by Hei Feng or had made a promise. Only then were they qualified to watch. A group of people also came from the profound sky world. The leader was a peak Saint King. He was not forced back by Hei Feng. The 2 of them fought. He was not a half-step king, but he was very strong. Although he did not have the will of the world, his sword techniques were very sharp. He was on par with Hei Feng. Heifeng, come back. Profound Sky Sword Technique. Are you from the Profound Sky Dynasty? Chen Bai called out to Heifeng. Profound Sky Dynasty, Qianyu, said the man fighting Heifeng. Why #head K hair /P. This man looked only 27. He was dressed in white and was very handsome. Although he was facing Chen Bai and Heifeng, his battle intent was high. Okay, recover. I, Chen Bai, will fight you. If you win, my junior brother and I will leave, Chen Bai said to Qianyu. He wanted to have a gentleman's battle. Sky Pillar Saint King, you're so bold. If I, Qianyu, lose, I'll leave. If I win, I'll bring people to help you guard this place. I want 1/3 of the limitless longevity fruit. You can take the rest, said Qianyu. Chen Bai was bold, and so was Qianyu. Also, without Chen Bai and Heifeng bringing people to trap the king, no one had a chance. Deal. Chen Bai nodded. Qianyu recovered for 4 hours. When he reached his peak state, he nodded to Chen Bai. Heifeng, pay attention, said Chen Bai to Heifeng. With a wave of his hand, a sword appeared in his hand. Fighting with the Sky Pillar Saint is a great joy in life. Make your move. Qianyu nodded. There was no nervousness on his face. Instead, he was excited. It was the feeling of meeting a worthy opponent. Not bad. These are all men. At least they can make people look at them. Cowards like Zhang Weiyue are annoying, said Zhu Jiuyun. Speak. Chapter 997. While Zhu Jiuyun was speaking, Qianyu and Chen Bai began fighting. The battle situation was just as Night Sorrow had expected. Chen Bai was strong and had dabbled in the will of thunder. Be it defense or attack, they were both very strong. However, Qianyu was no weakling. He waved the long sword in his hand, one strike after another, forming a sword stance. The sword stance was continuous, stabilizing his weakness of not having a will of his own. That's right. Cultivators from large factions have extraordinary foundations. Yi Shang muttered in a low voice. The battle was in a stalemate, but Night Sorrow could see that Qianyu had no chance of winning. His attacks could not break through Chen Bai's earth-space defense. In addition, Chen Bai's sword technique with the support of thunder attribute was extremely strong. What's the result if you go up against any of them? Zhu Jiuyun asked. She was concerned about Night Sorrow's situation against Chen Bai and the others. Hee, it's all right. If we don't go up against each other, who knows the result? Night Sorrow said with a smile. Hearing you say that, I know. If you're not their match, you'll say it, Zhu Jiuyun said. She knew Night Sorrow very well. If he could not, Night Sorrow would say it. If he did not say it was impossible, it meant that he had some confidence. After the battle went on for 15 minutes, Chen Bai's offense suddenly changed. He used an earth attribute attack, which was gravity suppression. At this time, Qianyu's sword stance was not as smooth. With a flaw, he was no match for Chen Bai and was directly suppressed by Chen Bai. In a moment, Chen Bai's sword chi broke through Qianyu's defense and pierced through his chest. After injuring Qianyu, Chen Bai did not continue to pursue. You may leave. Qianyu will remember your mercy. After saying this, Qianyu led his men and left. Is this the battle of gentlemen? Zhu Jiuyun asked Night Sorrow. Yes, Chen Bai has a great advantage, but he didn't go for the kill. Of course, he might have other concerns. After all, there is no need to kill a genius from a sovereign faction without enmity. Most importantly, Qianyu didn't show any hostility, Night Sorrow said. After defeating Qianyu, Chen Bai meditated to recover. He did not consume a lot of energy, but in a place like the No territory, it was very important to maintain his peak state at all times, because no one knew what would happen next. While Chen Bai was meditating, Heifeng was extremely vigilant. His hand that was holding the battle blade loosened and tightened. He was ready to fight at any time. Night Sorrow then glanced at the limitless longevity fruit. The limitless fruit's ripening period was the most crucial moment. However, it seemed that Chen Bai and senior brother Chen Bai were in charge at the moment. Currently, the leaders here were Chen Bai and Heifeng with their servants. There were also two other groups. One group was led by Tsang Guiyue, and the other group was led by a woman. However, they had all promised not to take the initiative to snatch the limitless longevity fruit. If not for this promise, Chen Bai and Heifeng would not have allowed them to stay here. In addition, if Chen Bai and senior brother Chen Bai did not hold them back, King Vajra would sweep the others. Night Sorrow began to refine pills in the spacetime pagoda when he had nothing to do. He turned some materials into pills. In any case, his clone could not cultivate. Zhu Jiuyun helped Night Sorrow make a pot of tea or something. Her main body was cultivating, and her clone had nothing to do. In the blink of an eye, a few months had passed. Everyone was a little anxious because the one-year deadline was getting closer and closer, and the limitless longevity fruit had not ripened yet. Night Sorrow was also a little anxious because the one-year deadline was a limit for everyone. In the past, even if the people who came had obtained the limitless longevity fruit, it was still not ripe. However, the limitless longevity fruit in front of them was about to ripen. Who would be willing to take it raw? The profits would be reduced by a portion. At this time, the 9 domain sources told Night Sorrow that the limitless longevity fruit would ripen in about half a month. This made Night Sorrow heave a sigh of relief. Apart from this half a month, Night Sorrow still had more than half a month to hurry on the road. This time was enough. Although there was still time, Night Sorrow was still worried. He was worried that Chen Bai and Heifeng would not be able to remain calm. If they wanted to harvest it in advance, Night Sorrow would have no choice but to act in advance. In fact, Heifeng was already unable to remain calm. Sixth senior brother, we don't have much time. We only have 1 month. Why don't we just harvest it? Chen Bai shook his head. Stay calm. I feel that it's almost time. We won't harvest it until the last moment. Hearing Chen Bai's words, Night Sorrow heaved a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that Chen Bai would decide to harvest it. If that happened, the loss would be huge, and it would be an unavoidable loss. Because once Chen Bai decided to harvest it, Night Sorrow would have no choice but to harvest the unripe limitless longevity fruit in advance. The team led by Tsang Guiyue and the other team led by a woman were also standing firm. Although they did not say anything, they were also looking forward to the appearance of variables. If more experts came, or if Chen Bai and Heifeng were in danger, they would have a chance to get a share of the profits. But in reality, they were disappointed. Because even if people came, if they were not scared off by Chen Bai's name, they would be killed by Heifeng. Heifeng and Chen Bai had completely different personalities. Heifeng would give you a chance, but if you did not leave, then you would be killed. 5 days later, Night Sorrow smiled. The aura on his body had also changed. His main body had awakened from seclusion, and his comprehension of the will of space had reached the entry level. He was now a half-step king like Chen Bai, Heifeng, and the others. You have comprehended? Zhu Jiuyun also felt the change in Night Sorrow. Yes, a half-step king. It won't be a problem for me to fight with them. Night Sorrow said. It's only been a few years, and you have actually entered the realm of a half-step king. Zhu Jiuyun was extremely shocked. A half-step king had already touched the threshold of the will of space. It was a completely different concept from a peak saint king who was completely clueless. Can you calm down and make a pot of tea to congratulate me? Night Sorrow glanced at Zhu Jiuyun, but he was glad that his main body had awakened from seclusion and had comprehended. He did not have to worry about the following battles. Even if he used the will of space to fight, it would not affect his main body's comprehension. What will of space? Zhu Jiuyun asked while making tea. The cutting will of space. It is a relatively shallow will of space, but it is suitable for fighting. Night Sorrow did not hide anything from Zhu Jiuyun. The two of them were partners, so there was no need to hide anything. high-level will of space. It is definitely invincible among those of the same level. That's enough. You will have a higher chance of winning. It can be said that you are completely confident. Zhu Jiuyun said. There are no absolutes in this world. If they release their control of the King Kong King, who will be able to get the limitless longevity fruit? Night Sorrow said as he looked at the trapped King Kong King through the time pagoda. Hee hee. If they dare to release it, everyone will be in trouble. Zhu Jiuyun smiled. She also knew the situation outside. She knew that Chen Bai and Heifeng had suffered a great loss. In these few months, they had used up a few hundred Saint Spirit stones. Chapter 998. I've let them down. I've been a little petty. Let me think about it and see what's the best way to deal with this. Night Sorrow felt that if he didn't snatch it openly, it would be a little ungentlemanly. However, snatching it openly wouldn't go smoothly. After all, Chen Bai and Heifeng, who were trapping the King Kong King, were in the lead. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow still couldn't come up with a solution. He could only wait for the limitless longevity fruit to ripen. At this time, the limitless longevity fruit also changed. Energy flowed on it, and the red ripples seemed to be alive. This was a sign that it was about to ripen. At this time, Chen Bai and Heifeng also moved. Everyone, back off a bit. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Heifeng held his saber and turned around to look at everyone. This meant that if anyone moved recklessly, they would be seen as an enemy and would be attacked directly. You Wuhan, if you don't cause trouble, Chen Bai will owe you a favor. If you cause trouble, then you and I will die. Chen Bai turned to look at the female leader of the team. Sang Guiyue and the female leader of the other team, Yu Wuhan, both retreated a bit. One Heifeng was nothing, but if he joined forces with Chen Bai, then no one could withstand it. If they angered Chen Bai and Heifeng, then the 9 Peak Saint King's servants would also make a move. It would also become a situation where one side would fight to the death. Sang Guiyue and Yu Wuhan both understood the situation. They also understood that if they made a promise to Chen Bai and Heifeng, then the limitless longevity domain wouldn't let the matter rest. They couldn't withstand the revenge. In a situation where they were in the wrong, their family elders couldn't interfere. The consequences of interfering would cause even greater trouble. Chen Bai and Heifeng looked at the limitless longevity fruit tree, while the other looked at Sang Guiyue and Yu Wuhan. Super many good novels. Night Sorrow also knew that the final moment was coming. His soul power enveloped the limitless longevity tree. Communicate with the treasure spirit of the pagoda of time and space. Don't block my energy. This way, I'll take it all the instant the limitless longevity fruit ripens. The 9 regions' origin energy appeared beside Night Sorrow. Normally speaking, if Night Sorrow were to suppress it, the 9 realms' origin energy clones would not be able to leave the 9 realms' origin bead. However, Night Sorrow had never deliberately done so. Night Sorrow called Shao Kong over and gave him some instructions. He then counted and found that there were 15 limitless longevity fruits on the limitless longevity tree. He took out 15 bottles and gave them to the 9 regions' origin energy clone. After that, he focused his energy on Chen Bai, Heifeng, and the Diamond King. They were the variables that he needed to obtain the limitless longevity fruits and leave. At this moment, the Diamond King was extremely angry and irritable. It kept attacking the disc array that trapped it, but it still could not break free from the no-beginning disc array's control. It could not be blamed for being angry because the limitless longevity fruits were extremely important to it. It was a treasure that could increase one's cultivation and life level. However, the no-beginning disc array was firmly controlling it, so it was helpless. The Diamond King was unlucky to be controlled by the no-beginning disc array. It had lived for countless years, but due to the problem of its innate talent, it had always been at the level of a 3-star king. If it was a 4-star king or an intermediate king, the no-beginning disc array would not be able to suppress it. At this moment, time passed very slowly. The main reason was that everyone was very nervous and focused on the limitless longevity fruits. Night Sorrow also held the space splitter spear in his hand because a battle could break out at any time. Chen Bai and Hei Feng were not to be trifled with. Zhang Guiyue and Yu Wuhan would not sit idly by when the time came. Don't be nervous. You will handle it well. Have a cup of tea first. Zhu Jiuyun poured a cup of tea for Night Sorrow and said, I am not nervous. I am excited. I want to fight with them. If I get the limitless longevity fruits this time, I will owe Chen Bai and Hei Feng a favor. Showing up will also be an explanation to them. Night Sorrow took a sip of tea and said, You won't run after getting the limitless longevity fruits? You still want to fight? Zhu Jiuyun stared blankly at Night Sorrow. I want to fight. If I want to leave, they can't stop me. I have comprehended the will of space. In terms of speed, they are probably not as fast as me. Night Sorrow said with a smile. It's up to you. As long as you are confident. Zhu Jiuyun said. Night Sorrow drank a cup of tea and felt that it was not enough. He took out a jar of wine and drank while looking outside. After 2 days, the 9 regions origin body reminded Night Sorrow that the fruits were about to ripen. With the 9 regions origin body's reminder, Night Sorrow prepared for battle. Suddenly, the runes on the limitless longevity fruits on the limitless longevity tree froze and emitted a gentle light. The instant the runes stopped, Chen Bai flew towards the limitless fruit tree. But at that moment, a swirl of energy appeared on the boundless fruit tree. Then, more than a dozen 10,000 longevity boundless fruits disappeared. This happened in an instant. Chen Bai did not even have the time to react. Naturally, the one who collected the limitless longevity fruits was the 9 regions origin body. Night Sorrow closed the jade bottles and stored them into his storage ring. He then nodded at the 9 regions origin body. If he were to pick the limitless longevity fruits himself, he would not be able to do it so quickly. If he were to be a little slower during the critical moment, he might be intercepted and variables would appear. Who is it? Come out. Chen Bai roared. He knew that someone had beaten him to it. With a flash, Night Sorrow appeared outside the space-time pagoda. At the same time, he kept the pagoda back into his body. Who are you? Chen Bai asked Night Sorrow. I'm Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow said his name. If you didn't come out, we wouldn't have been able to find you. Why did you come out? After Chen Bai's anger subsided, he thought of another problem. Because you guys used the array disc to control the Diamond King. That's how I obtained the limitless longevity fruits. I feel that I have to give an explanation. Night Sorrow revealed his reason for coming out. Good. You're magnanimous enough. It's your ability that allowed you to obtain the limitless longevity fruits. However, since you've come out, we have to fight. If you win, you can leave. If you lose, you'll leave half of the limitless longevity fruits and you can leave too. Chen Bai made his decision. No. Chen Bai, I have nothing to say if the limitless longevity fruits are in your hands. However, it's not in his hands. He can't leave, Zhang Guiyue said. You piece of trash. If you were guarding the limitless longevity fruit tree, I would have left without a word. There's nothing to say to trash like you, let alone give an explanation. Chen Bai, we'll talk about our matters later. Zhang Guiyue, come. We'll fight first. Last time, you ran. Let's see if you can run this time. Night Sorrow's body flashed and he charged towards Zhang Guiyue. Opponent. Night Sorrow respected him. However, Night Sorrow would kill low-quality trash. Zhang Guiyue brandished his sword and began fighting Night Sorrow. He felt that this was an opportunity. He could not do anything about the limitless longevity fruits in Chen Bai's hands. However, he felt that he had a chance to get a share of the loot in Night Sorrow's hands. Yu Wuhan, you better not move. Hei Feng looked at Yu Wuhan and said. Chapter 999. C_T, Genius 1 second remember love/go/small? This is a wonderful novel for you to read. Quick update. The website is clean and has few advertisements. I love this kind of website. You must give it a good review. So what if you're easy to bully? He came out like a man. As a disciple of Boundless Mountain, we naturally have to give him an explanation. Before we solve the problem between us, if you dare to attack, I won't be polite. Before Black Wind could speak, Chenbai directly expressed his attitude. Yu Wuhan narrowed his eyes and looked at Chenbai, thinking. Then, he waved his hand to his people. Let's just watch and see what Boundless Mountain is like. At this time, Night Sorrow was suppressing Tsang Guiyue in battle. His original body had comprehended some will of Space Slicer, so he had no problem suppressing Tsang Guiyue in speed. In addition, during the attack, the space-splitting spear could quickly pass through space and was sharper than before. Tsang Guiyue could not withstand it, even if he had comprehended the sword will in the wind. Feeling that he could not defeat Night Sorrow, Tsang Guiyue shouted for the holy kings behind him to attack Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow did not speak. He controlled the 8-dragon cauldron to protect himself. Then, he used his soul power to control the spacetime pagoda to smash at the holy kings surrounding him. Under Night Sorrow's control, the spacetime pagoda was extremely powerful. Even the holy kings could not withstand it. Those who were fast enough could dodge it, but those who were slow would die if they were hit. At this moment, Yi Shang was engaged in a massacre. The troops that Tsang Guiyue had brought were not enough for him to kill. A moment later, 2 Peak Saint Kings were killed, and Tsang Guiyue was stabbed in the chest by Yi Shang. Cotton candy, kid, I'll remember you. Tsang Guiyue roared and then fled. At this time, his speed was extremely fast. He was burning his essence blood because he would be killed by Night Sorrow if he did not leave. Night Sorrow did not chase after him because the matter here was not settled. If he left now, it would be the same as running away without giving Chenbai and Black Wind an explanation. After turning around, Night Sorrow looked at Chenbai and Black Wind. Good. Although you stole the limitless longevity fruit, I have to say that you killed well. You killed well. You've recovered. I'll wait for you, Chenbai said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded and sat down to recover. Besides, no one could plot against him. An hour later, Night Sorrow stood up. I took advantage of you, so I'll give you an explanation. If you don't regret it after this battle, then I'll have a clear conscience. All right. Chenbai waved the long sword in his hand and nodded. He knew that Night Sorrow was a strong opponent. Tsang Guiyue was a half-step king, but he had been forced to run away. Besides, he also knew that if Night Sorrow wanted to leave, neither he nor Hafen could stop him. With Night Sorrow's speed, they could do nothing about it. As soon as the battle began, Chenbai activated his Earth attribute spatial defense and Lightning attribute will to support his longsword attacks. Night Sorrow used the power of Desolates to protect his body, the Void Law to suppress his opponent, and the Void Chi to attack. At the same time, he used the spatial will to support his speed. Not only did it increase his movement speed, but it also increased his attack speed. With the support of the spatial cut will, Night Sorrow moved even faster. Chenbai could not keep up with Night Sorrow's rhythm. Chenbai's attacks were ferocious, but in the face of Night Sorrow's void extreme kill, he was helpless. Every time they clashed, he was at a disadvantage. Although he was at a disadvantage, Chenbai could still fight. He was not like Tsang Guiyue, who could not fight back at all. Their bodies flashed, and within a radius of 12 miles, they continued to fight. Seeing that he could not suppress Chenbai without the support of the spatial will, Night Sorrow used his Space Splitter Spear and used his Bloodline innate spatial ability. He used the spatial attribute energy to support his spear art. After changing his attack style, Night Sorrow's attack speed and strength suddenly increased. The Space Splitter Spear directly knocked away Chenbai's longsword and cut a hole in Chenbai's chest. The spatial energy directly penetrated Chenbai's chest. After injuring Chenbai, Night Sorrow did not continue to attack. I lost. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, Chenbai said. I'm sorry. Everyone needs opportunities. After Night Sorrow replied to Chenbai, he looked at Yu Wuhan. He wanted to see if Yu Wuhan would let him go. You can go. You didn't slip away. This is an explanation to us brothers. We will naturally give you an explanation. Chenbai looked at Yu Wuhan. His words were for Yu Wuhan. Night Sorrow, if you leave now, we won't stop you. Can you tell us where to find you? Heifeng said. He. I didn't leave immediately because I thought highly of you. You have the strength of a cultivator. Now, I'm disappointed. After hearing Heifeng's words, Night Sorrow was indeed a little disappointed. You're mistaken. We can afford to lose. We're not looking for you because of today's incident. We have something to ask of you. Even if you have to pay the price, it's fine. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Heifeng hurriedly explained. My name is Night Sorrow. I'm a disciple of the Tianding Gate in the profound sky world. After hearing Heifeng's explanation, Night Sorrow knew that he had misunderstood. We'll look for you later. Heifeng nodded. Then I won't waste any more time. The 1-year deadline is approaching. Leaving early is the most important thing. Night Sorrow glanced at Yu Wuhan. His body drew an arc as he instantly left the battlefield. At this speed, if he leaves directly, we can only watch. Chenbai said as he wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Yu Wuhan glanced at Chenbai and Heifeng and left. After waiting for a few months, this was the result. She was very unwilling, but she had no choice. Night Sorrow's strength was too terrifying. If Chenbai wasn't a match for him, she wouldn't be able to. After Night Sorrow flew a distance away, he brought Zhu Jiuyun out of the space-time pagoda. You did well. What's so great about them? They were still trampled to death. Zhu Jiuyun was very excited. Night Sorrow's battle this time was really beautiful. He snatched the limitless longevity fruit alone and even beat the other party to a pulp. This time, we've completed our mission perfectly. Now, we don't have time to continue searching for materials to leave. We can only leave quickly. Night Sorrow said. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. Zhu Jiuyun was in a good mood. Thereafter, Night Sorrow and Zhu Jiuyun took turns to travel. When Night Sorrow's cultivation was more than half depleted, he let Zhu Jiuyun carry the space-time pagoda. When he was exhausted, he would switch with Night Sorrow. In less than 7 days, Night Sorrow and Zhu Jiuyun arrived near the spatial barrier. Night Sorrow called for Zhu Jiuyun to enter the space-time pagoda to recover. Aren't we going out directly? Zhu Jiuyun asked. Don't you think there will be danger inside and outside the spatial barrier? Won't others ambush us? Night Sorrow glanced at Zhu Jiuyun. Now that you mention it, it's possible. Zhu Jiuyun nodded embarrassedly. She knew that she was too excited and neglected some issues. Night Sorrow had offended many people in the mysterious sky world. It was normal for the Sky South Empire to keep an eye on Night Sorrow. After recovering, Night Sorrow kept Zhu Jiuyun's doppelganger into the space-time pagoda and flew towards the spatial barrier. Chapter 1000. C_T, Genius 1 second Remember Love/Go/Little? We provide you with interesting novels to read. Formation. As a formation master, Night Sorrow naturally knew what was going on. Someone had set up a formation. I don't have time to play with you guys. Night Sorrow muttered. He tore open the space and entered the spatial turbulence, flying towards the space barrier. No matter who set up the formation, they could not set it up in the spatial turbulence. When he reached the space barrier, Night Sorrow tore it open and began to travel towards the mysterious heaven world. Mysterious heaven world. Elder Xiang, who was standing in front of the space barrier, was anxious. There were only a few days left until the 1-year deadline. By then, the no territory would shift and leave the area between the mysterious heaven world and the firmament world. If Night Sorrow did not return before then, he would not be able to come out for 90,000 years. At this moment, a crack appeared in the space. Night Sorrow's body flashed and he appeared in front of Elder Xiang. Good, it's good that you're back. Let's go. Elder Xiang turned to look at the others. He wrapped Night Sorrow in energy and left the space barrier. So many people are in front of the space barrier? Night Sorrow turned to look at the space barrier and asked. Yes, there are still people who have not come out. How's your harvest? Elder Xiang asked. To Elder Xiang, the most important thing was that Night Sorrow had come out alive. Night Sorrow himself was his greatest treasure. Very good, I've gained a lot. Night Sorrow answered. When they reached the nearest city, Elder Xiang took Night Sorrow back to the Tianding Gate through the teleportation formation. Advertisement: when they reached the Tianding Gate, Elder Xiang and Night Sorrow separated. He felt at ease, but at the same time, he was not calm. This was because he noticed that Night Sorrow's cultivation had changed. He was no longer a peak Saint King, but a half-king realm. It was also very difficult to enter the king realm from the half-step king realm. After all, it was only touching the will of heaven and earth, which was different from comprehending it. But who knew how many people had stumped just this one step of coming into contact with the will of heaven and earth? It was just like the Tianding Gate. In the past, there had been a large number of peak stage Saint Kings, but because they had not been able to come into contact with the will of heaven and earth, they had reached the end of their lifespans and would die. The current batch of newcomers had not yet grown up. Even the presently very outstanding Yan Huifeng had cultivated for 20,000 years, and still had not come into contact with the will of heaven and earth. J% the reason why he was still alive despite reaching the end of his lifespan was because of Yan Huifeng's talent. Top-grade forces all had some peak stage Saint Kings, while the Tianding Gate had very few. This was because many forces would pay a high price to recruit peak stage Saint Kings, while the Tianding Gate only nurtured them themselves, and did not recruit them. Thus, there was a difference in this level. Yi Shang returned to the little house in the bamboo forest. This made his anxious relatives and friends very happy. It's good that you're back safely. Mother will cook some delicious food for you later. Yu Qing looked at her son and said. Thank you, Mother. A place with family was home. Night Sorrow really enjoyed the feeling of having his parents by his side. Did this trip go smoothly? Sikong Chuyu asked. Yes, everything went smoothly. Night Sorrow nodded. Yi Wuyo sized up Night Sorrow. Seeing that his son was safe and sound, he said, it's good that it went smoothly. Now, just stay here and accompany Chu Yu and the others. If not, I will also take a break. Don't keep cultivating bitterly. Night Sorrow nodded, and then let Zhu Jiuyan out. You guys don't know, but Night Sorrow was really awe-inspiring this time. Now, everyone in the Sky Dome realm knows the name Night Sorrow, Zhu Jiuyan said. She was even more excited than Night Sorrow, especially after taking care of Tsang Weiyue. This made her feel very relieved. Then, she also explained what happened this time. We did obtain the 10,000 limitless longevity fruit, but I don't want its existence to discourage everyone from working hard to cultivate. The 10,000 limitless longevity fruit can only be used when there is no other choice. Night Sorrow looked at the people around him and said. He didn't want the people around him to slack off. After all, one's cultivation and realm were the most important things. Everyone understands what you mean. Aoi poured a cup of tea for Night Sorrow and said. Also, I will concoct some pills to repair the soul. Then, I will go and buy some void Dao stones. If any of you want to cultivate a soul clone, go ahead. Xueshi, your soul clone movement technique has no restrictions. If you can teach it, teach it. After all, low-level soul clones don't have much meaning. Night Sorrow looked at Xueshi and said. My soul clone movement technique can only be cultivated by cultivators with the wind and water attribute. Other attributes won't work. She nodded. She also hoped to help Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow cared about the people around him the most. If she could help the people around Night Sorrow, it would be equivalent to helping Night Sorrow solve his problems. Then cultivate our nether race's flawless soul clone. However, I don't know if it will succeed. After all, there is no such precedent. Zhu Jiuyan thought for a moment and said, "Will it affect you? The last time I cultivated Aunt Fei's soul clone movement technique, it caused quite a bit of damage to her." Night Sorrow looked at Wu Lingfei with gratitude in his eyes. The scene of Wu Lingfei being punished by the heavenly Tao was still in his heart. Wu Lingfei smiled and nodded at Night Sorrow. In her eyes, the current Night Sorrow was no different from the Night Sorrow of the past. That won't happen. What Elder Wu has is a bloodline inheritance. What I have is a scripture inheritance. There is still a difference. Zhu Jiuyan shook his head. After resting with his parents and wife for 2 days, Night Sorrow entered the Time and Space Treasure Pagoda. His main purpose was to refine pills. Some medicinal herbs would lose their effectiveness if left out for too long. Aoi and Zhu Jiuyan both accompanied Night Sorrow. Aoi liked to refine pills. Zhu Jiuyan was a clone and did not need to cultivate. Night Sorrow was now a high-level sacred king alchemist. Refining spirit replenishing pills and longevity limitless pills was not a problem. While Night Sorrow was refining pills, a few people were sitting in the endless hall of Endless Mountain. "Master, junior brother Black Wind and I have lost." Chen Bai bowed to the white-robed old man who was sitting on the main seat and whose body was somewhat illusory. "You are injured? What's going on? Could it be that a sovereign king attacked you?" The old man sitting in the main seat asked. "No, it was a young man. It was an open battle. Disciple was not his match." Chen Bai bowed and said. "Young man? Half-step king?" The white-robed elder asked. "Yes. He is very young, about 100 years old. He seems to be using pure spatial will. Not only is his movement speed fast, but his attack speed is also fast. There is one thing that Disciple is not sure about. He seems to have several rules. Disciple has embarrassed Master. Please punish me." Chen Bai bowed and said. "A loss is a loss. One has to face some things in life. However, your third senior sister's lifespan is up. Without the longevity limitless fruit, she can only resign herself to fate." The white-robed elder sighed. "There is still a chance. We asked for his name and sect. Disciple plans to make a trip later. No matter what the price, Disciple will save third senior sister." Chen Bai said. "All right, then go with your eldest senior brother. Master also needs to go into seclusion." After saying that, the white-robed elder disappeared. Chapter 1001. C_T, Genius 1 second Remember Love Go/Little? This is a wonderful novel for you to read. Read the full article. First senior brother, junior brother understands. I have no complaints. This time, I am going with first senior brother to ask for help. I have no other intentions, Chen Bai said to the middle-aged man. This middle-aged man was very famous. He was the 7 Kills King, Luo Qisha. In the Sky Dome Realm's King's Realm, he had a strong deterrent force. What he comprehended was the same killing intent as Ren Tianji. However, Ren Tianji only comprehended the surface. In that case, we will go over now. It will be hard on the two of you. Luo Qisha nodded to Chen Bai and Hei Feng. He also felt sorry for his 2 junior brothers. The Boundless Mountains disciples were as close as brothers. Chen Bai and Hei Feng risked their lives to go to the Boundless Domain to extend their senior sister's lifespan. The cost of using the realm teleportation formation was very high. However, it was nothing to the king. Luo Qisha brought Chen Bai and Hei Feng to the Profound Heaven realm and then directly teleported to the Tianding Gate. When Luo Qisha and the other two arrived at the Tianding gate, old Xiang appeared. The king's realm was very sensitive. Naturally, old Xiang sensed Luo Qisha's arrival. I am Luo Qisha. Greetings, Tianding king. Luo Qisha cupped his hands at old Xiang. Sky Dome Realm's boundless mountains first disciple, 7 Kills King. Welcome, 7 Kills King, to my Tianding gate. Please excuse me for not going out to meet you. Old Xiang cupped his hands in return. No matter why Luo Qisha came, old Xiang had to receive him politely. To read a book, please go to www.myanhuating. CC, Tianding King is too polite. I am here to meet your Tianding Gate's Night Sorrow. Luo Qisha explained his purpose for coming. Night Sorrow was able to obtain treasures in the boundless domain. That is his fortuitous encounter. Is Boundless Mountain trying to drag the matter of the boundless domain outside to settle? Although the Tianding Gate is nothing in front of a giant like the Boundless Mountain, it won't allow itself to be trampled on. Elder Xiang's aura changed. Tianding King, there must be a misunderstanding. The Boundless Mountain never bullies the weak. This is the teachings of our master. We just want to see Night Sorrow and discuss some things. We don't want anything from him. Luo Qisha cupped his hands toward Elder Xiang again. So that's the case. Then yours truly has misunderstood. Let's go to Danding Peak then. After hearing Luo Qisha's words, Elder Xiang knew that he had been overthinking things. King Realm cultivators had some persistence. They wouldn't say one thing and do another. Elder Xiang arrived at Danding Peak and was received by Wu Lingfei. Following which, Sikong Chuyu went to the Spacetime Pagoda to call for Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, who had just finished refining a cauldron of longevity limitless pills, left the Spacetime Pagoda. At this time, Wu Lingfei had also brought Elder Xiang, Luo Qisha, Chen Bai, and Heifeng to the bamboo grove. Greetings, Elder Xiang. Greetings, Lord King. Night Sorrow cupped his hands toward Elder Xiang and Luo Qisha. He couldn't see Luo Qisha's cultivation level. Naturally, he knew that Luo Qisha was the king. Half-step king. A very young half-step king. Very good. After looking at Night Sorrow, Luo Qisha nodded. Naturally, he could see Night Sorrow's bone age. Everyone, take a seat. Night Sorrow gestured for everyone to sit down. Then, he started to make tea. RD Forever $read novels for free. After Night Sorrow finished making tea and sat down, Chen Bai stood up and cupped his hands toward Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, I'm here to ask you for a favor. Brother Chen Bai is too polite. There's no harm in speaking your mind. Night Sorrow looked at Chen Bai and had a rough idea of what was going on. My third senior sister's lifespan is almost up, but she hasn't entered the king realm yet. Therefore, I'm here to ask for a longevity limitless fruit. If you have any requests, I, Chen Bai, will do it. If I can't, I'll do it, Chen Bai said to Night Sorrow. His words expressed his determination. Me too. As long as you can get a limitless fruit, we'll do whatever you want. Heifeng stood up as well. Brother Chen Bai, Brother Heifeng, you're exaggerating. Truth be told, I feel bad for snatching away your opportunity. Otherwise, I wouldn't have shown myself back then. I would have just left. There are 3 longevity limitless pills in this bottle. Each of them has the same effect as the longevity limitless fruit. Take them. Night Sorrow took out a jade bottle and placed it on the table. Thank you, Brother Yi, for your generosity. However, it's not appropriate to take them directly. Back then, you chose to show yourself and fight. This is equivalent to giving an explanation to both you and us. We'll use resources to exchange for these pills, Chen Bai said as he looked at the pill bottle. Truth be told, after hearing your words, I'm very touched. I have 10 senior brothers and 2 senior sisters. In their eyes, I'm like a family member. If something happens to them, I'll feel the same way as you. So, I don't want it. Don't refuse, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Sixth brother, take it. Remember that my boundless mountain owes Night Sorrow a favor, Luo Chisha said as he looked at Chenbai. All right. We'll take the pills. Also, I'm convinced of my defeat in the previous battle. However, I won't admit defeat just like that. When I've improved, I'll come and find you again. Chenbai cupped his hands towards Night Sorrow and accepted the longevity limitless pill. Anytime. Night Sorrow smiled and cupped his hands. Then you youngsters can continue chatting. 7 kills king, shall we take a walk around the Tianding gate? Elder Xiang asked as he looked at Luo Chisha. Alright, then we'll have to trouble Tianding king. Luo Chisha stood up and nodded. Night Sorrow, when did you get to the longevity limitless tree in the boundless region? I remember that our defenses were very tight. Hei Feng asked as he watched 7 kills king and Elder Xiang leave. When I got there, you guys had already trapped King Kong King. However, the others hadn't arrived yet. You guys were the first wave. I hid there for nearly half a year. It was a very nervous half a year. Night Sorrow explained the situation to Hei Feng with a smile. We couldn't snatch the fruits from you, and we couldn't stop you from running away. What were you nervous about? Chenbai asked, puzzled. I was afraid that you guys wouldn't be able to hold back and directly went to pick the unripe longevity limitless fruit. Then, I could only snatch the unripe ones. Wouldn't that be a loss? Fortunately, Brother Chenbai was more stable. Chenbai and Hei Feng were more casual. Night Sorrow smiled and shared his feelings. After staying for a while, Chenbai and Hei Feng were about to leave. At the same time, they invited Night Sorrow to visit Boundless Mountain when he had time. However, they told Night Sorrow to be careful of Tsang Weiyue. Tsang Weiyue was a genuine villain. In addition, there were a few other half-step kings in the Ashen Cloud sect. The strongest among them was called Tsang Wushang. He had the same nature as Tsang Weiyue. I'll be careful. As for the other two, when you come to the Heaven Profound world in the future, come visit me. I'll entertain you with good wine and good meat. This time, you guys were anxious, so I won't keep you. Night Sorrow said. All right. Also, let me tell you. The Sky Dome realm is much bigger than the Heaven Profound world. It's also a good place to comprehend the will of heaven and earth. When you come to the Sky Dome realm, you must go to Boundless Mountain. If you say that you're Night Sorrow, no one will stop you. However, don't barge into the Ashen Cloud sect's territory. Chenbai invited Night Sorrow. Chapter 1002. C_T, Genius 1 second remember love/go/small? Shoa.net provides you with wonderful novels to read. There are almost all the books you want to read. It's much more stable than the average website. It's also updated faster. It's all text with no advertisements. After sending Chenbai and Hei Feng away, Night Sorrow chatted with his family. This is a good ending. They all have persistence in their hearts. To put it bluntly, they follow the path of a gentleman. It's not scary to offend such people. The most important thing is not to offend them. Yi Wuyo said. Yi Shang nodded his head and asked who was cultivating the soul clone. Then, he gave them the spirit replenishing pill and went to the Big Dipper city to sell some medicine. In exchange for some materials, he also bought a few void Dao stones at a high price. As for the Restore Spirit pill and Longevity Limitless pill, unless it was a last resort, Night Sorrow would not sell them. This was because the more he used, the less he would have. Who knew if he would need them in the future? When Night Sorrow returned to the small bamboo house, Elder Xiang was talking to Wu Lingfei and the others. Elder Xiang is here. Night Sorrow greeted. Yes, I just sent away that 7 kills king. That guy is a very strong character. The Endless Mountain's Endless Monarch doesn't usually move and doesn't mind some things. However, this guy is very murderous. Whoever provokes the endless mountain will be killed by him. He's also very strong. Elder Xiang said. However, I feel that they are reasonable. Knight Sorrow felt that Elder Xiang was not completely right. He felt that Luo Qisha and the others were not the kind of people who would bully others. Logic can be used, but it also depends on the person. If they approve of it, then there is no problem. If they don't approve of it and don't like it, then there is no reason to talk about it, Elder Xiang said. He knew about the boundless mountain. Perhaps in the profound sky world, those who were not strong enough did not know the words endless mountain, but all King Realm cultivators knew. The endless mountain was reasonable, but it also depended on the person. If they faced someone who was not worthy of respect, then there was no reason to talk. They would directly kill without any worries. Then Knight Sorrow talked about how he had offended the Grey Cloud sex people, Sangyunhue. Sigh, this is a bit troublesome. The Sangyan monarch and the boundless monarch are two completely different people. The boundless monarch cares about his own cultivation and has no interest in power and influence. However, the Sangyan monarch is different. You have to be careful when you go out. Old Xiang said. He knew that the Sangyan sect and the boundless mountain were two completely different forces. Looks like I've caused trouble for the Tianding gate again, Knight Sorrow said apologetically. It's nothing. The Sangyan monarch wouldn't go so far as to come to the Tianding gate for this matter. Even if others came, it would be useless. The main thing is that you have to be careful when you go out, Elder Xiang said. Knight Sorrow nodded. There was nothing he could do about offending the villain. He then thought of another question. Oh right, does Elder Xiang know about the Demon Moon world? I know. That's a middle-sized world. It's a very difficult world to deal with. The leaders of the Demon Moon world are the moon-worshipping race. They are all rather extreme. You didn't offend them again, did you? Elder Xiang looked at Knight Sorrow in astonishment. No, I met them at that time. However, she didn't have the chance to intervene. There's no grudge between us. Knight Sorrow told Elder Xiang about the situation at that time. This is karma. However, it doesn't matter. They might have designs on the limitless longevity fruit on you. However, they can't act recklessly. Our Tianding Gate is not a place that anyone can bully. The Heaven Profound world will not allow people from other worlds to act recklessly in the Heaven Profound world. Elder Xiang said. Elder Xiang's current feelings were very deep. Because of Knight Sorrow's arrival, his days were filled with fear and trepidation. However, he knew that this was the process of some people rising up. It was something that they had to go through. After Elder Xiang left, Knight Sorrow accompanied his family to chat and drink tea. Sixth senior sister, is it not suitable for me to join any forces? I'm too good at causing trouble. However, you have always been in the wrong. Therefore, you don't have to think too much about it. When you enter the king's realm, some things can be avoided. Aoi said. There were still people who could bully peak stage Saint Kings. However, if it was not necessary, no one would be willing to offend the king's realm. The king's realm had an unlimited lifespan. If they met a ruthless person, they would find a place to cultivate. When they had great achievements, they would come out for revenge. Knight Sorrow nodded. He also felt that he should settle down for the time being. No matter what, he had to first perfect the will of space and officially enter the king's realm. As long as he comprehended the will, he would not have to constantly stay in places where the will of heaven manifested. He could advance according to the will that he had already grasped and slowly perfect it. While his main body was cultivating, Knight Sorrow's clone went to the Tian Nan Empire and walked around. He wanted to see if there were any movements in the Tian Nan Empire. However, he could not casually touch the Tian Nan Empire at this time. The main reason was because of the existence of the Tianding Gate. If Knight Sorrow continued to massacre the city, the Tian Nan Empire would vent their anger on the Tianding Gate. Knight Sorrow was a man of principle. He did not want to implicate the Tianding Gate because of him. After walking around the Tian Nan Empire, Knight Sorrow realized that there was nothing going on. He walked around the Tian Xian world and increased his knowledge. These days were very relaxing. In the Endless Mountain's Endless Palace, Luo Qixia was talking to a few people. Old 6, little 8, because of senior sister, you owe him a favor. Senior sister is really apologetic. A woman sitting beside Luo Qixia said. 7 to 9 permanent a pardon, third senior sister, you think too much. Knight Sorrow is not the kind of person who wants to be repaid. He was originally giving it to us. Hei Feng said with a smile. Little 8. He is being polite. We can't take it seriously. That will damage our Endless Mountain's reputation. The woman called third senior sister by Hei Feng said. She was the Endless Sovereign's third disciple, Qing Yin. Because her soul was severely injured in a battle, her talent was damaged. 10,000 years had passed and she had not entered the King realm. Because her lifespan was reaching its limit, the disciples of Endless Mountain were very anxious. Qing Yin, don't think too much. You can't slack off just because you have the longevity limitless elixir. You should enter the King realm as soon as possible. Luo Qixia looked at Qing Yin and said. Eldest senior brother, don't worry. Qing Yin will work hard. Qing Yin nodded. When I saw this young man called Knight Sorrow, I was very excited. He is living a passionate life. Qing Yin, did you know? He is a little over 100 years old, but he is now a half-step King realm. Old 6 was defeated by him. Luo Qixia said. Old 6, were you careless? How did you lose to a young man? Qing Yin said with a smile. Third senior sister, don't laugh. I really wasn't careless. I really couldn't beat him. I think even if little 8 and I attacked together, it would be useless. Third senior sister, you didn't see that Song Guiyue from the Grey Cloud sect was also a half-step King realm. He was beaten up like a dog and didn't even have the strength to fight back. Chen Bai said. Qing Yin, old 6 is not joking. I didn't believe it when I didn't see it. Now that I see it, I believe it. Some things don't need to be said. Luo Qixia said to Qing Yin seriously. Chapter 1003. C_T, Genius 1 second remember love/go/little? I'll provide you with interesting novels to read. Sixth brother, you might be right about one thing. You and eighth brother are no match for him. When I saw him, I tried to find out more about him, but I failed, said Luo Qixia. Brother, why did you fail? Asked Qing Yin. She didn't understand. She knew how strong her brother was. Luo Qixia smiled and explained the situation. While he was investigating, his soul power had reached Yishang's side. First, it had been dissolved. Then, the remaining soul power had reached Yishang's side and dissipated at an accelerated rate. Brother, what's going on? Chen Bai's eyes were wide open. He didn't understand. Last time, didn't you say that he might have many rules in his body? He could melt my soul power. I don't know what kind of rule it is, but it's very overbearing. If he has the support of will, then my soul power with the power of will is nothing in front of the energy rule. This is the first kind. In addition, there is also an energy rule that can change the flow of time in his body, which is the time rule, Luo Qixia said. But when he fought with sixth brother, he showed the energy of space and the embryonic form of space intent. Is he good at many things? Asked Hei Feng. He was surprised. There are all kinds of geniuses in the world. Never underestimate others. What I admire the most is that he values relationships. When he said that he felt the same way, it means that he cares a lot about the relationships between fellow disciples. Sixth brother, eighth brother, if he participates in the competition for the first saint of the 100 worlds, he'll definitely be the strongest saint. Read the whole story, said Luo Qixia. We want to compete for the first saint of the 100 worlds, but we're not very sure. Brother, do you think he has a chance? Everyone below the king level can participate. Many half-kings will go, said Chen Bai. It's just a feeling. Teacher will go to the 9 heavens world in 3 years. You should ask him when he comes, said Luo Qi Sha. At this time, Yi Shang was traveling around the profound heaven world. On this day, he came to profound heaven city. After walking around, he went to a tea house to drink tea. Suddenly, he saw a familiar person enter the tea house. It was Qian Yu. Qian Yu of the Xiantian dynasty had been defeated by Chen Bai. You're wanted by the Tiannan dynasty, yet you're still able to run around. I have to say that you have some guts. Qian Yu sat across from Night Sorrow. That's nothing. They can't do anything to me. The last time I saw you, you weren't a half-step king, so you weren't a match for Chen Bai. Now that you're a half-step king, you should be able to fight Chen Bai, Night Sorrow said after taking a sip of tea. Looks like you know quite a bit. You should have been there at the time, but I didn't notice. Entering the half-step king is nothing. Although he won't be defeated so quickly, it's still not enough to defeat Chen Bai, Qian Yu said. At the same time, he also knew that Night Sorrow was also someone who had entered the No Weave. You being able to fight proves that there are people from the heaven profound world who are willing to give it their all, Night Sorrow said. Seeing that Night Sorrow was also a half-step king, Qian Yu suddenly changed the topic and asked for a fight. How about a fight? Okay. Night Sorrow nodded. Seeing Night Sorrow nod, Qian Yu waved his hand and attacked. Look at Chapter 9, Chapter H, Part 1 Inch. This is a tea house. Night Sorrow glared at Qian Yu. His body flashed and he landed on the street outside the tea house. Qian Yu also rushed out of the tea house and continued to attack Night Sorrow with his sword. Night Sorrow's body flashed twice and waved the Space Splitter Spear, blocking Qian Yu's attack. Qian Yu had comprehended the Thunder Sword intent, which was a Thunder Sword intent. His attacks were violent and ferocious, but Night Sorrow had used the will of space to support his spatial energy. His movement and attack speed had increased, so his defense was more than enough. Night Sorrow didn't counterattack, he just passively defended. He wanted to see the mysteries of the mysterious heaven sword art. At this moment, a group of Imperial guards arrived and surrounded Qian Yu and Night Sorrow. This prince is Qian Yu, scram! Qian Yu roared and continued to attack Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear attacked, and every time he attacked, it would hit the point where Qian Yu's sword was swinging. This meant that Qian Yu's attacks would be interrupted by Night Sorrow, so he couldn't use his power. This made Qian Yu very sullen, but no matter how hard he tried, it was useless. He could not change the situation. After a moment, he stopped attacking. He waved his hand and attacked a stone statue on the side of the road, venting his anger. You're good, you're ruthless enough. You're much stronger than Chen Bai. No, you're stronger than Chen Bai. You should have gained something last time. Let's continue drinking tea. He entered the tea house and sat down again. Looking at Night Sorrow outside the tea house, Qian Yu thought of something and called Night Sorrow into the tea house to drink tea. This isn't appropriate, is it? You drank the tea I bought and then wanted to fight me. Now, without saying anything, you're asking me this and that? Night Sorrow looked at Qian Yu and said, I'll treat you to tea today. When the restaurant opens, we'll drink again. Come in quickly. Being called by Night Sorrow, Qian Yu was stunned for a moment because he hadn't been so rude to him. However, he felt that Night Sorrow was right. He didn't have the right to order Night Sorrow, so he changed his words and invited Night Sorrow to drink tea. Night Sorrow sat across from Qian Yu and looked at the Imperial guards outside. He understood that Qian Yu's status in the mysterious Heaven Dynasty was very high. Noticing Night Sorrow's gaze, Qian Yu roared at the Imperial guards, Go do what you need to do. What are you looking at me for? The Imperial guards bowed to Qian Yu and left. I was indeed a little reckless today. Don't take offense. Most men aren't like this. Qian Yu poured a cup of tea for Night Sorrow with the teapot. You're indeed not pretentious. Night Sorrow took a sip from the teacup. Tell me quickly. What was the situation last time? Don't worry. Qian Yu, won't have any ideas about what benefits you got. Qian Yu urged Night Sorrow somewhat anxiously. I admit that I got some benefits. Night Sorrow hesitated for a moment before saying. Beautiful. Our mysterious heaven world has always been suppressed by the Sky Dome world. All the good things are theirs. I'm not satisfied. You've done well this time. Qian Yu slammed the table and said. I'm not from the mysterious heaven world. Night Sorrow corrected him. Bullshit. I know that you're from the 9 regions world. I also know that you have a grudge with the Sky South dynasty. But in fact, the few worlds around the mysterious heaven world are all subsidiary worlds of the mysterious heaven world. They can all be considered as people of the mysterious heaven world. Qian Yu looked at Night Sorrow and cursed. Perhaps. It's just that the mysterious heaven world has hurt the 9 regions world too deeply in the past. I still have some resistance to the mysterious heaven world. Night Sorrow expressed his feelings. After all, what Qian Yu said was the truth. I can understand. The Sky South dynasty and the Yanmen Mountain sect like to do some immoral things. Oh right, in 3 years, come with me. Let's go to the 9 Clouds world to play. Qian Yu said. I'm not going. You have a backer. If I get chopped up for running around, it'll be for nothing. Night Sorrow shook his head and refused. Chapter 1004. C_T, Genius 1 second remember love/go/small? Show.net provides you with wonderful novels to read. Almost all the books you want to read are here. It's much more stable than the average website and updates faster. It's all text with no advertisements. What are the benefits? If the benefits are big enough, I'll consider it, Night Sorrow said. You're really unscrupulous. Let me tell you, in 3 years, it should be more than 2 years, it's the first saint ceremony of the 100 realms. It's to choose the strongest saint king from the 100 realms around the 9 heavens world. If you get a ranking, the benefits will be great. My great ancestors said that if the members of the Tianxian world get the top few, there will be great rewards. There's no problem with cultivation resources. In addition, the 9 heavens world will open the will of heaven and earth cave to the top few, allowing the strongest saint king to strengthen his will comprehension, Qian Yu said. Fair? Fair? If it's not fair, I won't go, Night Sorrow said. You're being petty. These are all petty thoughts. Do you know who's in charge of this conference? It's the monarchs of a few realms. My great ancestor will be there. Who do you think can come? Qian Yu looked at Night Sorrow and rolled his eyes. That's not bad. Interesting. Night Sorrow understood that there should be no problem with fairness. I've been talking to you for a long time, and you're just a little interesting. I'm speechless. How can the 9 regions world produce an anomaly like you? I don't care. I'll look for you when the time comes. Oh right, where can I find you? Qian Yu only knew the reason why the Tiannan dynasty wanted Night Sorrow, but he didn't know the specific situation of Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow reported his home, then waved at Qian Yu and left the tea house. He took the teleportation formation and went to another city for a stroll. Night Sorrow's attitude made Qian Yu so angry that he slammed the table. He felt that Night Sorrow was too despicable. He talked for a long time, but Night Sorrow didn't give him a definite answer. When Qian Yu slammed the table, 2 women entered the tea house. A woman in a pink dress looked at Qian Yu. You, what made you slap the table? Tell second sister. Second sister will vent your anger for you. Is it because of Chen Bai? It's not Chen Bai. It's another bastard. I'm so angry, Qian Yu said after taking a big sip of tea. If you don't cause trouble, we'll look for whoever bullies you. She was the first princess of the Xintian Empire, Qian Ziwei. She wore a golden dress and a phoenix hairpin. Her face was cold and her eyes were cold and arrogant. Big sister, don't add to the chaos. I was attacked by someone just now. I fought with him, but he didn't even attack. My attacks were all ineffective. Then, he gave me a beating. Qian Yu said gloomily. Then why don't you tell second sister what happened? Whoever gives you a hard time, will take care of him, said the woman in a pink dress. She was Qian Yu's second sister, Qian Xiangwei. I'm not taking care of him. I'm not looking for trouble with him. I'm just angry at his attitude. I can't describe how I feel. I don't want to take care of him. That's not right. I want to beat him up, but I can't. Qian Yu couldn't describe his feelings. Then, Qian Yu explained his encounter with Yi Shang, as well as some of Yi Shang's experiences in the No Weave. Then, Qian Ziwei expressed her opinion. She knew that Knight Sorrow was a wanted man in the Tiannan Empire. She was from the Shantian Empire and naturally knew some things. Qian Ziwei felt that Qian Yu had a noble status, but this status was invalid in the eyes of some people. At least, it was invalid in Knight Sorrow's eyes. Knight Sorrow dared to take care of Shang Jingchen, so he wasn't afraid of Qian Yu. However, Qian Ziwei felt that Knight Sorrow was a good friend. That's right. Think about it. Back then, Chen Bai and Hei Feng used the no-beginning disc array to suppress King Kong King, but Knight Sorrow still snatched the limitless longevity fruit. It's right for people with ability to have character, said Qian Xiangwei. That's right. The Tianding Gate is a large alchemy sect. Big sister wants to ask someone to refine the spirit comprehension pill. We have the materials, but it's not easy to find a high-level Saint King alchemist. Let's go to the Tianding Gate and get to know this bastard. If he can participate in the first sage assembly of 100 realms and get a ranking, our Shantian Empire will give him some rewards, said Qian Ziwei after thinking for a while. Then let's go to the Tianding Gate. Qian Yu agreed immediately. He still wanted to fight with Knight Sorrow. He was in a passive position when chatting, so he was very depressed. Qian Ziwei, Qian Xiangwei, and Qian Yu arrived at the Tianding Gate. Elder Xiang wasn't there. Yan Huifeng was there to receive them. Yan Huifeng hadn't been in seclusion recently, so he was calming down. Currently, there are only 2 people in the Tianding Gate who can refine the spirit comprehension pill. King is in seclusion all year round. If he doesn't show up, we can't find him. The other person is our Danding Peak's Peak Lord, Knight Sorrow. He can refine it. I'll bring the 2 princesses and princes over, said Yan Huifeng to Qian Ziwei and the other 2. When they arrived at Danding Peak, Hua Yunpeng and Zhu Jiuyun's clones received them. Knowing that Knight Sorrow wasn't there, Qian Yu muttered, this bastard isn't here. Did he leave Shantian Empire City and didn't come back? How can you say that? Zhu Jiuyun was unhappy after hearing Qian Yu's words. I'm sorry. He made me angry. Qian Yu was stunned for a moment before apologizing. Then, Zhu Jiuyun called Wu Lingfei over. Wu Lingfei then crushed Knight Sorrow's messaging crystal. Knight Sorrow, who was still wandering around, felt his own messaging crystal shatter. He took the teleportation array and rushed back to Danding Peak. Seeing Qian Yu and the others, Knight Sorrow was stunned. You bastard, why are you still here? Didn't you say that you could come find me 3 years later when you want to go? What are you doing here now? Can't you be more reasonable? I can't come to the Tianding Gate in less than 3 years. Qian Yu was furious after being scolded by Knight Sorrow. Alright, you're awesome. The leg is on you. You can go wherever you want. Then tell me what you want. Knight Sorrow found a seat and sat down. It's like this. I'm Qian Ziwei. I'm planning to ask Master Knight to refine some pills. Qian Ziwei was speechless. She could see that there was no conflict between Knight Sorrow and Qian Yu. They just didn't get along with each other. Therefore, she couldn't be bothered to ask. Master Knight, This is Princess Ziwei from the Xiantian dynasty of the Tianxian world. She wants to refine some spirit enlightenment pills. The materials are ready. Yan Huifeng was a little stunned. Knight Sorrow didn't like the only male direct descendant of the Xiantian dynasty, Qian Yu. He didn't even give him any face. Knight Sorrow greets Princess Ziwei. Please forgive me if I've offended you. Knight Sorrow stood up and cupped his hands at Qian Ziwei. Master Knight, you're too polite. My brother has been spoiled by us sisters. Please don't take offense if he's offended you. I have some peak Saint Kings in the Black Scale Army. They've always been fighting to protect the Tianxian world. Therefore, I plan to refine some spirit enlightenment pills to increase their chances of comprehending intent. How will the cost be calculated? Qian Ziwei asked. You update square root newbie fastest OB up unspecified currency, protect the Tianxian world? Knight Sorrow was stunned. Yes. Their existence isn't to protect the Xiantian dynasty but the Tianxian world. Even if the Xiantian dynasty is destroyed in the internal war of the Tianxian world, they won't interfere. This is the order of the great ancestor. Qian Ziwei nodded. Chapter 1005. C_T, Genius 1 second remember love/go/little? Show.net provides you with wonderful novels to read. Can you do it? Don't waste my sister's materials. Qian Yu said. What's wrong with you? Knight Sorrow turned and glared at Qian Yu. You, don't say any more. Teacher Knight, when are we coming to get the pills? Qian Ziwei looked at Qian Yu and asked Knight Sorrow. When? Just wait here, it won't take long. Take out the materials. Knight Sorrow shook his head. After sizing up Knight Sorrow again, Qian Ziwei took out some materials and placed them on the table. 3 furnaces of materials. Knight Sorrow said. Yes, 1 furnace is enough. Qian Ziwei nodded. Normally, when finding an alchemist to refine a pill, 3 furnaces of materials in exchange for 1 furnace of finished product. Because there was a chance of failure, 1 furnace of materials was prepared for failure and 1 furnace of materials was the alchemist's reward. Yi Shang sorted the materials and took out 2 alchemy furnaces. One was for refining the main material, while the other was for refining the supplementary materials. Then, he began refining. Don't all alchemists need assistance to refine high-level pills? He's just directly refining. Won't he waste the materials? Qian Ziwei said. I don't care who you are. Since you're here to ask someone to refine pills, please respect him. Wu Lingfei heard Qian Ziwei's words and was unhappy. So many good novels. Qian Ziwei looked to the side. Now that she had her brother's enlightenment, the feeling of not being able to fight back was really uncomfortable. 10 hours later, Knight Sorrow's furnace of spirit comprehension pills came out of the furnace and put it into a jade bottle. Then it was the second furnace. After a day and a half, Knight Sorrow finished refining 3 furnaces of spirit comprehension pills. All of them were successful without a single failure. Princess Ziwei, I didn't disappoint you. Keep the 3 furnaces of spirit comprehension pills. Knight Sorrow wiped his hands with the towel that Aoi handed over. After taking a look at the elixir, Qian Ziwei bowed slightly to Knight Sorrow. This is a high-quality elixir. Teacher Knight's alchemy skills are unparalleled. Princess Ziwei is too polite. I have said before that I respect those who protect our homeland. I also hope to do something for them, Knight Sorrow said. Well said. My little brother is not very sensible. Don't mind him, Qian Ziwei said. She had some understanding of Knight Sorrow's personality. It's nothing. I won't stoop to his level, Knight Sorrow said with a smile. Who's not on the same level as who? What did you say, what did you say? Qian Yu's eyes were about to turn blue from anger at Knight Sorrow. Haha. There's nothing wrong with chatting and laughing. Everyone, take a seat. We've been watching Master Yi concoct pills all this while. We haven't even drunk any tea yet. Yan Huifeng said. He was now in awe of Night Sorrow. No one could make the two princesses and princes of the Xiantian Empire lose their temper. Qianyu looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Let me ask you, are you going to the ceremony of the first saint of 100 realms? Why are you so excited about whether I'm going or not?" Night Sorrow said after taking a sip of water. "This is a chance to bring glory to the profound sky world. How can I not be excited?" Xianren slammed his hands on the table as he spoke. Bring glory to the profound sky world? The sky profound world South Sky Dynasty slaughters my 9-domain world every 10,000 years, harvesting the saint crystals of our 9-domain world as materials. You want me to win glory for the sky profound world? Yi Shang was a little angry, and his voice was agitated. Master Yi, these are the internal conflicts of the profound sky world. No matter how wrong the Tiannan dynasty is, or how you want to take revenge, it doesn't matter. But this time, we are dealing with outsiders, Qian Ziwei said. Perhaps. At that time, I didn't answer Qianyu directly. I just wanted to think about it, Night Sorrow said with a sigh. I didn't think it through enough. It was a little difficult, but you can't ignore the big picture just because of a villain. Participating in the first saint of 100 realms will be beneficial to you personally. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Qianyu calmed down. Night Sorrow nodded and didn't say anything. He had been avoiding this question and didn't agree because he still had some choices in his heart. After that, everyone stopped talking about this topic. After all, Night Sorrow had made it very clear. Qian Ziwei, Qian Changwei, and Qianyu didn't leave either. They stayed in the bamboo forest house. Qianyu wanted to find Night Sorrow to spar with. Night Sorrow didn't refuse to spar with him. He also wanted to train himself. Seeing Night Sorrow and Qianyu spar, Qian Ziwei and Qian Changwei knew why Qianyu was so depressed and angry. Night Sorrow didn't attack strongly, but every time he used his spear, he would interrupt Qianyu's attack. Qianyu didn't have a chance to use his full strength. After the spar, Night Sorrow stayed with his family. After following his sister back to the guest room, Qianyu asked his two sisters how they could resolve this situation. No, your speed is at a complete disadvantage. Your attack power is also inferior to his, so you can't win. Qian Ziwei was a half-step king. She could see Night Sorrow and Qianyu's situation clearly. Then there's no other way. Qianyu shook his head helplessly. Some people are favored by the heavens. Night Sorrow is one of them. His willpower is a pure high-level attribute willpower. Ordinary willpower, even fused ordinary willpower, is useless. I've never heard of anyone controlling a pure high-level willpower. It's too heaven-defying, Qian Ziwei said. Night Sorrow told his family about the first sage ceremony of the 100 realms. I think you need to participate, Wu Lingfei said. You can't let Tiannan dynasty's matters affect your own development. Your own development is also very important. Yes, you need to participate. You need to improve your strength to have a chance of defeating Tiannan dynasty. Yi Wuyo had the same opinion as Wu Lingfei. Night Sorrow thought about it and nodded. He felt that Wu Lingfei and his father were right. He had to seize the opportunity to improve himself. When he invited Qian Ziwei and the others for tea again, Night Sorrow was surprised that Qianyu was not going to spar. Night Sorrow, think about it, Qianyu said. I think you should go, but I won't make things difficult for you. My two sisters and I will go back first. We've disturbed you during this time. I'm not used to you being so polite. I've thought about it and decided to go. Maybe you're right. Night Sorrow said. Okay. I'll look for you when the time comes. Qianyu waved his arm. Master Yi, are you interested in joining the Black Scale Army of the Heaven Mystic World? Qian Ziwei asked. Princess Ziwei, I'm sorry, but I'm a newcomer to the Heaven Mystic World. I don't know anything, so I can't answer you directly. Night Sorrow said embarrassedly. Okay, you can think about it. I'm the manager of the Black Scale Army, but the army commander and 2 vice army commanders are king. They're still very high level. I'll make the appropriate arrangements. Qian Ziwei said. Chapter 1006. C_T, Genius 1 second remember love/go/little? I'll provide you with some interesting novels to read. So many good novels. Well, I won't force you, but the higher-ups in the army are very free. They can only be there when there's a war. If you go, you can be the commander. Alright, let's not talk about it anymore. Thank you very much. If you need any help in the future, you can find me at the Xian Tian dynasty. Qian Ziwei smiled at Night Sorrow. Then, she led Qian Xiangwei and Qian Yu out of the bamboo grove and away from the Tianding gate. While Night Sorrow was thinking, Yan Huifeng and Zhu Jiuyun arrived. They left? Yan Huifeng sat down and asked with a smile. They left. What's the situation with the Black Scale Army? Night Sorrow asked. It's the guard army of the mysterious sky world. It was established by the founding emperor of the mysterious sky dynasty, the mysterious sky monarch. It has a high status and does not interfere with any internal conflicts in the mysterious sky world. However, the one in charge has always been the Qian family of the mysterious sky dynasty, Yan Huifeng said. Night Sorrow, this army doesn't mean much to you. You don't plan to join. Why are you thinking about this? Zhu Jiuyun said. I refined elixirs for them. I want to know if Qian Ziwei is telling the truth, Night Sorrow said. It's very difficult to join the Black Scale Army. The members of the army can do whatever they want in the mysterious sky world. No one dares to provoke them. The Black Scale Army does not interfere with internal conflicts in the mysterious sky world. However, if anyone dares to provoke them, they will seek revenge. The army commander is the Thousand Tyrant King, an unreasonable guy. If you have the chance, you should join. This means that you will have a firm foothold in the mysterious sky world. Yan Huifeng said, I like this kind of website the most. You must give it a good review. She invited me, but I rejected her. I don't have the time right now. I have to break through to the king realm first. This is the most important thing, Night Sorrow said. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yan Huifeng was stunned. This was a rare opportunity for other cultivators, but Night Sorrow rejected it directly. Cultivate first, but don't enter the Sovereign King realm within the next 3 years. The first Sage Assembly of the 100 Worlds is a grand event. Only those below the Sovereign King realm can participate. Even half-step Sovereign Kings can participate, but once you enter the Sovereign King realm, you won't have the chance. If you get into the top 10, you will have the opportunity to cultivate in the will of the heavens and earth, which will greatly increase your chances of entering the Sovereign King realm. After entering the Sovereign King realm, your chances of comprehending the will also increase greatly, Yan Huifeng explained. Yan Huifeng shook his head, because Saint Kings had no chance. Even peak stage Saint Kings did not have much of a chance, because those who went were practically all half-step Saint Kings. Can avatars participate? Night Sorrow asked. No, it has to be the original body. Avatars can't be hidden. Let's not talk about the King Realm first. Many sovereigns will attend the first Sage Conference of the 100 Realms. Using avatars will be a serious problem. Yan Huifeng shook his head. After being in a daze for a while, Yan Huifeng left. Yi Shang was having a headache. His original body was still in the midst of intense cultivation. If his original body went to participate in the will of the heavens and earth's cave abodes to cultivate, then his original body's comprehension would have to stop, which would delay his time to enter the Sovereign King realm. However, if he did not participate, his comprehension of the will of heaven and the will of heaven and earth would also be a problem. Since he couldn't figure it out, Night Sorrow stopped thinking about it. His doppelganger began to cultivate his battle skills. His battle skills needed to be improved. His original body's comprehension of the will of heaven and earth was getting deeper and deeper. This was a great support for his spatial attacks. As for the people around Night Sorrow, they were all cultivating in the pagoda of time and space. The god-slaying team would sometimes go out to train. The rest of the time, they cultivated in the pagoda of time and space. Half a year passed. Night Sorrow's 3 wives had entered the Saint Realm one after another. They had survived the lightning tribulation and had a lifespan of 3,000 years. The other members of the god-slaying team had also improved rapidly. Yun Huang and Liang Yu were both peak sovereigns. With the saint crystals that Night Sorrow had obtained, they had already begun to comprehend the laws. At the same time, Ling Long and Qin Zhen were also comprehending the laws. Guan Yi was in a strange state. He was searching for something in the blank memory of the dark spirit saint. As for Tianyu, he had entered the saint realm early and had time acceleration. He was now a mid-level saint. Yi Mei had caught up later and was now a 3-star saint. Father Gu had also successfully entered the 5th level. In the process of drinking again, Night Sorrow gave Father Gu a 10,000 life boundless elixir. This way, Father Gu unknowingly gained 10,000 years of lifespan. As for the others around Night Sorrow, they didn't need to use the 10,000 life boundless elixir yet. Night Sorrow's main body continuously activated the 7th bloodline energy point. Although there was still a long way to go, after corresponding with the will of heaven and earth, Night Sorrow's comprehension of the will of space deepened a lot. His comprehension of the will began to advance. The half-step king's strength varied. It was related to one's combat strength, attributes, and comprehension of the will of heaven and earth. Comprehending 10% of the will of heaven and earth was the king realm. Comprehending 50% of this 10% would make one a half-step king. Between 50% and 10%, one would be a half-step king. However, the difference between 50% and 90% was still very big. As time passed, Night Sorrow's comprehension of the will of space deepened. From 50% to 60% to 70%, Night Sorrow stopped cultivating. If he continued to cultivate, it would be easy for him to break through to the king realm. However, he still had to participate in the first Saint of 100 Realms assembly, so he could only delay his breakthrough to the king realm. Look at ##Xingjie$. After the main body stopped cultivating and returned, Night Sorrow's clone merged with the main body. Half a year before the first Saint of 100 Realms assembly, Qianyu ran to Night Sorrow's place and continued to spar with Night Sorrow. However, after one spar, he stopped. He was very depressed. He originally thought that after working hard for 2 years, the gap between him and Night Sorrow would be smaller. However, in reality, he was still suppressed by Night Sorrow. What Qianyu didn't know was that Night Sorrow didn't use the full will of space. If that was the case, he wouldn't be able to fight. Night Sorrow was afraid of hurting him. 3 months after Qianyu arrived at the bamboo grove, Qian Ziwei and Qian Qiangwei also arrived. They were going to follow Qianyu to the 9 heavens realm. Night Sorrow's parents and wife, Wu Lingfei, Xuexi, and Zhu Jiuyun also planned to go and watch. Normally, it was very difficult to watch. The first Saint of 100 Realms assembly didn't prohibit watching, but there weren't many people who could watch closely. However, the Xiantian dynasty had some spots, so Qian Ziwei could bring everyone. Since old Xiang wasn't there, Night Sorrow greeted Yan Huifeng and left with Qian Ziwei and the others. After leaving the Tianding gate, Night Sorrow asked, "Princess Ziwei, I would like to ask you something." "Master Knight, don't be so polite." "Just ask," said Qian Ziwei. "Can I choose any attribute of the will of heaven and earth cave?" Night Sorrow asked the question he was most concerned about. "Yes, except for the supreme attribute of the will of heaven and earth, you can choose the others." Qian Ziwei nodded. You're tuning into the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.